I'll bet you that right now, younger women are hitting on you and you're completely missing it. Just like nearly every other guy. They're not doing it with compliments or touching your arm. They're asking you questions. Questions so ordinary, you answer them, keep chatting, and walk away with no idea that she was actually interested in you romantically. Then the woman walks away thinking you weren't interested in her, or that you're just another guy who's inexperienced with women and can't read her subtle signals. You walk away thinking it was just a nice chat with a younger woman, and your chance is gone, possibly forever. This happens to older guys more than you'll ever realize. And today I'm going to show you exactly which questions you need to listen for. So here's the first thing to understand. When a younger woman likes you, she usually won't tell you outright, in part because she's probably even more nervous hitting on an older man than you would be hitting on a younger woman. I can promise you that. So she'll test you with a question. So from now on, when a woman asks you something that feels oddly personal, pause, because that's often her hitting on you in her own subtle way, hoping that you'll be one of the few guys who gets it. So let's start with a really sneaky one that's so brilliant because it tells us so much about you. When she asks you something like, how old are you really? She already knows you're not 25. She might not be concerned about your age whatsoever. But it's a genius women's test that we use because she's testing a few things. Okay, will you get uncomfortable as if you're ashamed of your age, thinking your best years are behind you and you don't consider yourself attractive with women anymore? Or worse, will you try to lie to us about your age, which so many guys do, which is the least attractive thing of all? Or will you use some other corny technique to avoid answering honestly? Or are you a guy who gets it, who's had real experience with attractive younger women before, who realizes a big percentage of us younger women actually want to date older guys if you can show us that you're actually experienced with and skilled with women, which is why we're attracted to older guys in the first place. And that's the major thing that we're attracted to because it means that other attractive women have chosen you first. You've been pre-selected, which is rare. As Charles Darwin says, that saves us a lot of time in looking for a guy that will be an actual good partner for us, which is the whole point of pre-selection. So why should you trust me on this? Well, I'm Tess. I'm a 35-year-old runway model turned men's dating coach, and I run a team of models who go on dates and give feedback to our clients. And these days, we only coach guys in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. So I see this every single day because most women, especially younger women, aren't going to walk up to an older guy and just announce their interest because we girls absolutely hate being rejected. So instead, we do something much more subtle, more careful, more hidden. Instead of making a move, she opens a door or a window and just waits to see if you notice it. And let's face it, most men don't. Not because you're unattractive, not because they're too old, but because nobody ever told them the signals are now very different. Now, I'm going to walk you through the most common questions women ask when they're romantically interested in you and obviously don't want to come out and just say it outright. Now, the thing is, she rarely takes a big risk. Instead, what she'll do is just take a small one. A question here, a comment there, a little opening that lets her just test the waters without ever feeling exposed. But there's one way, which is by far the number one most common way that a younger woman hits on you, and every man gets it wrong, which I'll get to in the first half hour. And once you hear it, you'll kick yourself because you'll realize how many times it's happened to you. And to help me explain all of this, I want to introduce James, who founded Social Coach all the way back in 2006. He's a 55-year-old former financial analyst who spent 2 decades teaching men exactly how to read and understand women. James McLean. Hey, James. So
Hey, Tess.
James actually understands women, our psychology, and our signals far better than any other man I've ever met. Not surprising after 20 years surrounded by all of these models trying to change men's lives. So between the two of us, a woman who sees what she's really doing and a man who knows exactly what to do when he sees it, you're going to leave today seeing women and our signals completely differently. Welcome, James. And
Thank you, Tess.
one more thing, in about 30 minutes, I'm going to show you how you can practice your dating and approaching skills with me one-on-one over Zoom, a real practice date with my honest coaching on exactly how to improve with women fast. So stay with us to the end for that.
Thank you, Tess. How old are you really? This is such a curly one. The genius thing about how it turns such an innocent question most guys have no idea about into a test, particularly when she puts the word really on the end. This is why, if any of you followed the YouTube lives for a while, I'm obviously 55 now. If I am interested in a girl, I will tend to bring up the age early, proactively, to use a silly corporate word, simply because I don't want to waste half an hour or more, or let alone go on dates with a girl. I don't want to waste my time with a girl who's just going to sort of go when she hears my age. So I'll be coming up with ways to find out the girl's age early, so that I can test women. I can throw in the age test, study her eyes closely, and get a feel for whether me being, 20 years or more older than her, or a lot more maybe, whether that's like a complete deal breaker, something she's, I could do it, or something she couldn't care about. And a lot of the most high quality girls, in my experience anyway, they couldn't care less about it. Tess did a great job of this. Are you getting uncomfortable? Are you lying? Are you going to use some pickup technique to try to avoid it? Or are you a guy who gets it? Are you a guy who gets it? Just a bit more on the pre-selection thing. So much of what women do is they look to see whether other women like you. And then they make so much of their decisions based on that. You might have been out with your girlfriend who was somewhat attractive. Every girl was throwing themselves at you. Yeah, you have a period of time, you're single for 3 months, 6 months, let alone years, especially if you're sort of having sex with your computer, as many people like to do in today's world. And not a girl wants a bar of you, even if you're tall, pretty good looking, and make a bunch of money. So you're hot 1 minute, you're not hot the other. That's simply because women are just obsessed with what the other women think of this guy. And if you can pass their tests, as far as I know, that's the ultimate pre-selection signal, unless you happen to be Leonardo DiCaprio tuning in tonight, but I don't think he's caught one recently. In terms of how old are you really, this is where we really need you to ask your questions, because the guy who looks really young for his age, some people would say that about me, or a guy who's quite experienced with women, there might be completely different answers. Also, if you're sort of 55 and your goal is to date a 45-year-old, you're a complete fool if you lie about your age. Whereas if you're 55, do you want to date a 30-year-old or a 25-year-old, you still shouldn't lie about your age, but you've probably got to be more careful with how you handle it. So send us your questions. I mean, if you want, tell us your age. What's the age of your ideal partner? And how old do you look relative to your age? Because that's another big factor. How much energy you got? How healthy are you? Okay. So number 2, did you want anything to that test before I move on to the next point?
No, sorry. Sorry, I just need a bit of water, James.
Just don't die on me. I need you, please. We need you tonight. The boys need you. Anyway, I'm just kidding. So why are you still single? How come you're not married? Don't choke, Tess. We've got a long YouTube live left to go. Just, you can't die on me. Just wait a couple of hours, and I should better handle it from there. So, sorry about being callous about my star female coach, but yeah, your services are required. Said tongue in cheek. Go die quietly. I can handle it for a moment. We're not AI, by the way. Would AI come up with this to convince you we're not AI? And there's a lot of really bad dating advice on AI, I can tell you. Having said that, I must admit, I swiped the idea for this and some of the copy from AI. So thank you, AI, for helping me out with this great idea to help guys understand women better. So how come you're not married? So there's so much stuff she's doing here. I don't know where to start. She could be checking on your emotional availability. The other thing I should cover about this, notice how it's, so why aren't you still single? This is how women do things very sneakily and subtly. She doesn't just ask, are you still single? Which would be her sort of showing interest in you. She assumes you're not single, often without knowing, and goes, so why aren't you single? So why are you still single? Now, you may not be, but that's the way she phrases it, partially to protect her ego, where she can ask the question but not admit she's interested in you. And it also plants the you dating her thing quite subtly. So, so she's asking, are you available for me? But she also is checking out how you handle it. Yeah, I'm single. You're sort of a guy who doesn't really get it, who sort of volunteers it. If you say, oh, why are you still single? If you start going down the red pill sort of toxic woman bandwagon, which is a factor in today's world, but that's not something you want to talk about with the girl you're potentially interested in. And she also wants to, like so many of these, she wants to get a feeling for whether you get it or whether you don't. And she also wants to get a feel on whether you're a player or not. So a lot of players will have some pretty clever anecdote to this. A lot of guys, I mean, I've had so many pickup artists who probably couldn't get a threesome outside of a brothel who'll say, oh yeah, I only date bisexual girls or something. So James, are you still single? I failed this test profoundly. I was at dinner. I was at a yoga studio dinner. It was mainly yoga teachers, and one yoga teacher had actually contrived a way to get me to come to a dinner that was nearly all the yoga teachers, and then she'd parked herself down opposite me, much to I didn't realize what was going on at the time. And then she ignores me for the first, 2 dishes. And then she just grabs my hand very provocatively and turns it over and looks at my hand. She goes, oh, not married yet. How come you're not married? I don't know. Maybe Tess, we'll get your opinion on why girls ask, so why are you still single, before I give my long-winded answer, because I think I've got Tess to promise the most valuable point of the night, the first half hour. And this is a bit of a long story, but a very, very interesting one in terms of female psychology. So what do you have to add to girls going, so why are you not still single, before I tell the Barbara story? Everyone remind me of the Barbara story, particularly our wonderful regulars.
Yeah, because relationship history is a big test for women. It's as I talked about earlier, pre-selection, if a woman knows, okay, this guy's been in long-term relationships before, that's a big indicator that he has some level of understanding around female psychology or how to be in a relationship, So yeah, if you've been single for however long, or whatever, you've just come out of a relationship, it tells us a lot also about where you are emotionally, like how emotionally available you might be, but yeah, also what kind of a partner we could expect you to be. So if a woman's asking you this, it's a good sign that she has some level of interest.
Great. Okay. So what happened was the girl at the yoga dinner, she grabbed my hand and looked at my ring, and I'm really big on radical honesty or something close to it. So I wasn't quite sure how to handle that, because I was literally at a yoga thing with, I don't even know, 500 or 600 people there. Probably well over 100 was attractive girls, given it was a group of yoga teachers. There were some really hot ones. I knew I had quite a bit of interest already. So yeah, I didn't want to screw things up. I didn't want to say, yeah, I'm taken. But at the same time, I didn't want to cut off the opportunity of all the other girls there. So what I said, you want to talk about James screwing one up, is I went, I've honestly said this is the dumbest things I've ever done with women. I've got 2 bisexual girlfriends and they don't mind me seeing other girls. because it often means it sometimes means I can bring another girl for them. And then this woman had one of the best bodies I've ever seen in Australia. She was Eastern European heritage, but she was probably well into her 30s. Despite the fact her body didn't suggest it, what she was, her face probably did. And yeah, she just had sort of, and I don't think she said another word to me the whole dinner. It was just complete contempt. And the guy who owned the studio actually sort of softened the blow by saying, "Oh, what do you expect when you live in Darlinghurst, which is like Sydney's Chelsea, or Sydney's Boys Town? Chelsea's New York, Boys Town's Chicago. I think I know the LA one, but I won't just guess." So yeah, it's, people tend to have multiple partners of different orientations here, but she'd almost, because she'd also humiliated herself in front of everyone, because she'd got another yoga teacher to orchestrate getting me to this dinner that I shouldn't have been invited to, and only got invited to because she potentially had an interest in me. Because I do yoga regularly, I take it very seriously. I only ever use one teacher, so I create a lot of curiosity with girls in the studio. Plus, it was my sacred yoga studio, so I never paid any attention to any women there, no matter how hot they were, including this teacher with, as I said, one of the best bodies I saw in Australia. Just to give you, for you red pill guys, you'll love this. She literally made the next 4 or 5 days some of the worst of my life. I'd made a lot of friends there. I got some great yoga tips. I had some girls lined up who, I could have probably slept with. And they were keen on me, and I was charming and whatever else. But yeah, she went to every single girl and just told her, I don't know what she said about me. I was a pedophile, or I raped and murdered kids. But yeah, I remember one time I walked over and put my mat down, I don't know, 3 or 4 spaces away from this girl with a big chest who was clearly quite attractive. I didn't even pay any attention to her. I just wanted to be near the fans. And the girl literally goes, huh, and then gets up in a huff and walks away. And then this happened over and over and over again. This is what women are capable of if you get on the wrong side of them, even accidentally. And then even when I was talking to like women who are like in their 60s, I had started a conversation with them. The girl who I did this to, she walks up, she whispers in their ears, then they get up and walk away from me as well. I felt like a complete pariah. It was like, I don't know, it's just like being, I don't know, a pedophile or something. It's just like people hated me for probably massively exaggerated reasons. So yeah, anyway, hopefully you got some value out of this. Hell hath no fury as a woman scorned, particularly if she's got an insanely good body and she's in her early to mid 30s and looking for a man, and you embarrass her by accident. So Tess, did you want to add any sympathy about my horrible experience that completely ruined my week-long yoga retreat, which is one of the best things I ever did for my health, but I felt really bad towards the end. Anything you want to add before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, that's a clear example of how women hate to be rejected. And I think the fact that she was sitting across the table from you and kind of didn't acknowledge you for a prolonged period of time, that was her wanting you to take that initial step, right? So I think by the stage that she actually reached for your hand and asked you this question and was quite direct with you, she was already probably at a level of a bit of frustration because you hadn't taken that first step. So I think that is what might have added to the whole scenario of her reacting in like overreacting, I would say, because she had this frustration that was already built, and then you answered in a way that was quite shocking to her, and she's then responded quite negatively. So yeah, she was probably trying to give you some subtle hints before asking you that question that she wanted you to initiate, and you did it. Yeah, because really, she's like, she doesn't have any say over what your life should be. Like reasonably, she shouldn't have, like, she doesn't have the right to respond in a negative way to your life and your lifestyle when she has no relationship with you. But she obviously felt like she wanted something from you beforehand.
I should actually give some of her, that was brilliant. This is why, somewhat self-servingly, when you have a guy who's been coaching for 20 years and the number one female coach is the boss of a bunch of hot girls, and she's learning from the hot girls, the other hot girls we employ as well as I am, that's when you have our perspective. You can often flesh out stuff that you just wouldn't get with a male dating coach, no matter how good he is. And you definitely wouldn't get with a female dating coach, no matter how good she is. It's the synergy, it's the teamwork that I think is what, hopefully makes these kind of special for a lot of you guys. I'll quickly round it out. I didn't possibly realize how much I'd offended her. I realized there was some of it. But I literally sat beside her on the bus home, and it was quite a tight seat. And shoulders were pressing together. I think she thought I was trying to hit on her, which she liked in the moment because she knew I was attracted to her. But she just had complete utter contempt for me and ruined my whole week. So anyway, thanks for that amazing addition, Tess. Okay, Tess promised we were going to give you something pretty powerful in the first half hour. This is it. So what do? This is the number one. This is the biggest thing of all. It's so many of you guys miss this. So many of you guys, because you consume red pill or pickup artist stuff, this girl's a gold digger. I mean, sometimes they are gold diggers, but you don't throw away a whole bunch of amazing potential women who are probably hitting on you fearing she's a gold digger. Okay. Every single woman you're going to date, particularly if you're an older guy, she wants to know things. She wants to know your occupation. It could be about your money, but it's also probably a test of how educated you are, how intelligent you are, what are your hobbies and interests. She's also trying to figure out how passionate about what you do. If you're like, oh, I'm a chartered accountant and I wake up every day just dreaming of taking one of my razors and just running it across my wrists. Not like across the ways where you're going to survive. I mean down. I mean really doing a good job. And she also wants to know whether it's your mission. I mean, you could be a poet, but you could be, I'm giving so much to the world, or whatever. You could be a yoga teacher, but you're so passionate about the benefit you do with yoga, or even a carer for old people who makes limited money. But if you're really passionate and you think you're really doing something in the world, she may well be attracted to you. Look at all the penniless artists and poets. So yeah, you've got to start, when you hear, oh, so what do? Start thinking, this girl's very likely interested in me. Does that make sense? And it doesn't mean she's a gold digger. Tess, do you want to add to anything I've said before I hop on me bandwagon on this baby with a good example?
Yeah, so women, this one isn't as much as like of a test, I would say, but it does give you a lot of information, right, about what sort of lifestyle you might have, or what sort of interests you might have, or the way your brain works, like what you've chosen to do with your life. So the fact that she's interested in all of those things is, again, a great sign. And it is something that's just so casual and conversational, but it's often something that women will ask very early on when there is interest there.
Fantastic. Okay, I was on a private training, and I think the guy booked 5 sessions for himself. The guy's ex-finance. So this is not inexpensive. So the female coach involved, who I'll try not to name, otherwise I might upset her, she got the idea that the guy had some serious cash. If he's dropping that sort of money on private training, where they get to spend a day with me and essentially Tess and Natalia and Val or something. It wasn't those 3, but that gives you an idea. And he was a tall, very handsome guy. So he was tall, rich, handsome, but the girl in question, who's a model from a very wealthy family, she had zero interest. She was just working. I don't think he had a particularly good day. I don't know, I just made that up. So yeah, and a guy with a bunch of money means nothing to her. In this case, she's probably quite repulsed by guys with money, particularly if they come from a professional background. Anyway, I don't know. 4 hours through his private training, it comes out that this guy's a very serious meditator. And then she starts questioning him, and it turns out he primarily lives in a place called Bondi Beach, which is one of the most famous suburbs in Australia. one of the world's most famous beaches. Probably like a cross between Venice and Santa Monica for you Americans. I don't have a good one in Europe off the top of my head. And he also owned this sort of cool hippie celebrity region called Byron Bay. I can't think of a good analogy for America. Maybe the Hamptons, it's a bit more spiritual. And then also owned property in the Byron hinterland. So anyway, she found out she was interested, and then she did what girls do. Zero interest despite tall, rich, and handsome. And then she gets a few hobbies and interests that really attracted her. And she just sort of went on heat. And I will never forget this. It was one of the best lessons I had from one of my female coaches. She's just like, she pulled out her checklist and she's like, just fires question after question after question after question at him, and he's sort of like taken aback, and I'm sort of taken aback, and I'm sort of, I shouldn't even say this, I'm just sort of reaching for the record function on my iPhone, go, this is some of the best content ever, which I didn't quite get there in time. I just think I caught the end, but anyway, I don't know where it is right now. I just thought of this a few minutes ago. And yeah, and then this is so valuable for you. Women aren't overt, they're subtle. She goes, oh my God, you'd be perfect for my sister. And she just became single, all of which was untrue. The sister hadn't just become single. And she wasn't perfect for her sister. She was perfect for her. I knew that straight away. I don't think the guy did. So yeah, anyway, he chats along and he tells you a bit of story. And yeah, this is also a good example for you guys who are sort of a bit complaining about women and the fact they only go for tall, rich, and handsome, when we maintain that skill and ability to climb social hierarchies is Dr. David Buss and Dr. Jordan Peterson and all the other evolutionary psychologists would say. That's what they go for first. I mean, this girl is an example of a girl who can have any guy she wants. She's dated football players and rich businessmen, or a hell of a lot richer than this guy, even though he's got a fair bit of money. But the fact he was so into meditation and spirituality, for lack of a better term, made him insanely interested in him. Just to give you an extra line, she once dropped a line when we were filming something going, oh, she just met some new guy she was quite happy with, very happy with. And she drops this line, because she knows I've done multiple Vipassanas in third world countries. At least in third world countries, I've done one, and I've done this in Australia, and a lot of other meditation courses in third world countries. She goes, oh my God, he did a 10-day meditation in some exotic third world country. You should marry her. And that's apparently what her girlfriend said when she found out about this guy. But that was almost certainly, Tess can give her 2 cents, targeted at me as well. Because obviously, when we're filming, I'm high status. When I'm public speaking, we're high status. I found out later, essentially from her, with a little bit of a combination from him, that I think she became obsessed with him because she saw him a few times in the wealthy parts of Sydney. And he basically reported, I don't want to say, but he basically reported back, it was a bit like, whoa. And when he did, anyway, and when he did get a girlfriend and he's now married with kids, well, I shared the news you were a part of this. You were his coach that got him, after, having so many girls, but never one he likes. He's found an Australian girl he's batshit crazy about. He never thought he'd meet an Australian girl he'd take half seriously. But when I told her that, she was like really angry. Anyway, so I hope this is really valuable to you. So yeah, as soon as she found out what he does, it's just, whoa. It wasn't so much what he did, but it's the fact that he meditated, and that produced the number one, in my belief, girl dropping a hint to you subtly question of what do you do. Tess, do you want to add anything to that story?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, when you said that I agree that when she said, oh, you'd be perfect for my sister. Okay, if a woman says that to you, whether she's lying or not, it's a very, very good sign. If she's considering that I'd like to introduce you to my sister, my family member, yes, that means that you're ticking all of her boxes, basically, which is great, which is a really good sign. So that's a good one. I do agree, James, as well, where obviously her knowing about your history as well with meditation, that comment was probably for both of you, for sure. That was quite skillful of her. And yeah, and it just shows you that, you know, if there's something that women see as a strong connection point, something like meditation, obviously, for this woman, but for me, it would be something like surfing, let's say. Then that's going to pique my interest, and I'm definitely going to I'm going to think, okay, cool. He's, you know, lifestyle wise ticks one of my big boxes. Is there more, you know? And that's when she's going to be asking you questions like, oh, so what do you do? Or, you know, more questions. She's going to be invested at that stage. She wants to know if, yeah, if there's more potential there for you to get on long term.
I just forgot something important, Tess. You might go have a look at the comments.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so welcome, guys. We've got Martin, who's been quite active in the chat already. Bertraw, nice to have you here. Duke, 888 November, nice to have you. Welcome. I believe you're new here. To anyone else who's just tuned in, say hi in the chat. We're here to answer any of your questions. So we're up to point 3 so far. If any of this resonates with you, yeah, comment, ask some questions. We're here to answer anything that comes up for you related to this content or anything in general. So yeah, don't be shy, guys. Say hi in the chat.
Okay, we're going to have the world premiere of my definition of social engineering. Excuse me 1 second. Social engineering, creating massive attraction in beautiful women by developing high-level social intelligence, probably in the top 2 or 3% of men, including understanding women's true attraction switches, and female psychology to effortlessly beat guys who are way more tall, rich, handsome, young, and ripped than you. So that, I think, sums up what Social Coach does. We're not so much run down the street, sort of harass girls when they're shopping or they're just going to work or whatever. We're definitely not swipe away on dating apps in 2026, thinking that you're actually going to meet someone special. One thing about Social Coach, and you can tell by our conversation method, we're really about helping you meet quality women, not necessarily hundreds or thousands of them, but high quality women, which takes getting to know them, not just trying to be cocky, funny, fake alpha, even if that even works at all, just to sleep around. I'm not sure it does for most guys, particularly most guys watching on YouTube. So, and yeah, it's also designed for guys who are in their 40s or 50s or 60s who would feel a bit weird once they've done a few things in life, chasing girls down the street and jumping in front of them, telling them they're pretty or something. So yeah, that's what social intelligence is. And yeah, on that note, I'm just going to stop. Oh, I've screwed my camera up. We're just going to stop from a quick word from our sponsor, Social Coach. If you don't want to hear from the sponsor, which is sort of Tess, then just skip forward about 3 minutes and we'll catch you on the other side. Okie dokie. So yeah, we do private training. We now do it over Zoom. We're charging $1,500 for this and sold quite a few over the COVID lockdowns. Kept us going. We've got a whole bunch of beautiful girls who can help you on Zoom. Tess is the best. Natalia is also amazing. You can see the girls there, blah, 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 blah. Sorry about this. So yeah, the process of a Zoom date and feedback with Tess or dating analysis is we sum up. Firstly, you sum up your life with women for us, just quickly. You tell us what your goal is. What do you want to do with your life 3 months from when you do it? Do you want a bunch of girls, get some experience recovering from a divorce? Do you want your dream girlfriend straight away and you're very busy, so you need to do it very time efficiently? What do you think the sticking points you most need help with? And then once we've sort of got an understanding of you, who you are, what you want, you do an approach and conversation role play. We do a dating role play and we do some private training. So you'll basically role play a bunch of dates. And during this process, you're going to get a whole bunch of personalized expert tips from Tess. Tess, if you do it soon, it could be another girl a bit down the track who Tess will have trained. And yeah, and we'll give you a bunch of conversation starters, particularly conversation starters that are relative to who you are and what your hobbies are. We'll answer any questions you have about how to improve with women. So it'll be one-on-one after we've actually seen you on a date and found out what you want to achieve and what your sticking points are. And then we'll give you a written step-by-step plan for you to follow. So the real value of this is if you the way to break through anything in life is to find out what the number one I'm hiding, is to find out what the number one sticking point you have is, and just devote all your energy, all your focus to breaking through it. So what Tess or whoever it is going to do is it'll be Tess next few weeks at least, will be to laser focus what's really holding you back. Now, I will guarantee you do not know what's really holding you back, and you'll get a written plan. It's usually within 24 hours. So yeah, that's what it looks like. That can be your day tomorrow. Any of the guys, there's probably a few of you who've done these already. If you could just give your 2 cents worth in the chat, we would love you. We would love you, and you might actually help change someone else's life and potentially get a great wing for you to work with who will change your life almost as much as we can. When you get that perfect wing, that's one of the things we do. So yeah, if you try to book this on the website, it'll cost you $1,500. But if you book it tomorrow and you pass a little chat just to make sure you're not freaky and going to weird out Tess, the wonderful Tess, then you can get it for $1. That is quite a discount. Natalia's wonderful. She's another model. She also does these, and there's a whole bunch of other girls who help out. So yeah, we now change your life on Zoom. Not $1,400, just $1. For you guys watching the replay, it should be pinned in the comments and the description. And yeah, please take it up. No obligation if you don't think we're going to change your life. But yeah, we can make a huge difference in your life in such a short space of time. And we're pretty good at it. Okay, and I'm not very good at tech, but we're really good at changing your life. So without further ado, so what kind of women do you usually date? What kind of women do you usually date? Let me just grab my notes, which I've hidden. So this is quite an obvious one. Okay. This is an interesting one. It's definitely her hitting on you, but if you're a slightly high status guy, a lot of guys are high status, but I don't think they are. Maybe you're tall, maybe you're good looking, maybe you're obviously whatever. You've obviously got status or maybe wealth, or maybe she knows about where you live or your car or your job. So yeah, this is her sort of, she's trying to work out whether you're interested in her. She could be working out whether she's good enough for you. She could also be working out, if you're 50 and she's 32, whether you'd actually seriously consider dating a 32-year-old. Because women aren't that confident with dating older men, just like men aren't that confident with dating older women. Because as I think Tess capably explained at the start, they're terrified of being rejection by a guy who could potentially be her father. Tess, did you want to add anything to this? I've got another story, but I just wanted to get your 2 cents worth if you want to share before I get to my story, which I think again will add a lot of value. Yep, Tess.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, this one, I think if she's thinking, I'm attracted to this guy, ask this question, what kind of women do you usually date? It's giving her an inkling into what your relationship experience might be, which I've mentioned earlier is quite big for women. It tells her a lot about you, but also, is she the kind of woman that you're interested in? Like, if you start mentioning qualities that she's quite certain she's portrayed to you, or that are quite obvious about herself, then that's also gauging how interested is this guy in me potentially as well. So yeah, this is a big one. And yeah, it is quite obvious as well.
I should have said homework. We need Tess, can you do a little banner saying homework quickly and whack that up? Sorry, I've really broken the flow here. We're really not AI. Trust me, we're too incompetent to be AI. AI wouldn't be as useless as us. AI might make some mistakes, but I make lots of mistakes about tech, and the order of things. So homework. So this isn't the easiest one to give homework for, but please, if you're an old dude like me, you'll have a pen and paper in front of you. If you're a bit younger or you're a bit more sort of tech computer focused, not like 150-year-old or 300-year-old books like me, then you might do it on your computer. Think about it. If you're here because you find Tess and I fun or entertaining, that's great, but we really want to change your life, in part because we'll prove how good we are at this, and then you'll come and we'll really change your life when you get to work with Tess. So yeah, we're trying hard to change your life, and we've got a vested interest in it. So yeah, think about, when we're going through these points, really think hard about when a girl did something similar to you. Like, think back to the last time a girl asked, so what do you do? With like 4 O's on the end of oo, because she's all excited, just like my female coach did with the tall, handsome guy. She had no interest in until she found out he was a serious meditator. So what do you do? So what are examples of this where the girl was probably interested in you, or at least might have been interested in you, that you completely missed? So that is your homework. Can you remind me to give them another piece of homework later on to do with that film? I'm a professional dating coach, and one of my skills is I'm really fucking seriously world-class, potentially the best, the Michael Jordan of talking up my wings. I am so fucking good at this. I've heard that compliment from a bunch of people, including a friend of mine who was a dating coach, I think for about 5 years, with the 2 biggest dating companies ever. I'd call them pickup companies myself, but he called them dating companies. So whenever he gets a new girl, it's like, James, come meet me, new girl, and talk me up. Make me float on the clouds and walk over water like Jesus Christ. Help me part the Red Sea. Because I kind of do that. I shouldn't boast, but I'm really fucking good at talking people up. So anyway, I talk him up, and yeah, anyway, he's sort of sailing on the clouds, flying. But anyway, he screwed this one up. This girl was pretty attractive, and I think he was a bit nervous. I think he wanted some James assistance before he stuck it in there, to actually help him stick it in there. So he probably was it was a bit of a premature ejaculation. He ejaculated me too soon. He should have waited till after he slept with her, and then I could have talked him up from there. So it may have backfired. Word just crashed on me. What's going on? Pages just crashed on me. So yeah, does any AI models have their pages crash on their AI presenter in between the funny mouth? Pages quit unexpectedly. Fuck you, Pages. I wish Steve Jobs was still alive. So anyway, I can remember the story. So what happened was I talked him up as usual, and I did an even better job than normal. But at this stage, he hadn't slept with her. So I think partially because I talked him up so well, she goes, this guy is massively pre-selected if he can talk his wings up like this. I want to get the guy who's good at talking wings up. It might be because we did have some stuff in common. She, out of the blue, asks me, so James, so what type of girls are you usually interested in? And I'm like, red alert. I'm an Australian, as you can probably tell from my accent, or you guys watching from all around the world. And yeah, we do not sleep with the girlfriends of our best friend. That is like, you go to jail for that. That is the worst thing an Australian man can ever do. It's just against our rules of mateship. You never, ever sleep with your friends' girlfriends. And if you're a good Aussie, even like 20 years later, it's a moral code that Australia has quite strongly that I think is really good. Because if you're a good wing, you'll never, ever sleep with your wing's girlfriends unless you ask them to for a favor. Anyway, so she goes, so James, so what sort of women do you usually date? And I'm like, okay, this is a problem. I've got to get out of it. So it wasn't quite Donald Trump level, only Rosie O'Donnell, but it was close. So she goes, James, what sort of girls do you usually date? And I came out with, off the top of my head, girls who masturbate to Russian literature. especially Leo Tolstoy. That was very he's the guy who wrote War and Peace and Anna Karenina and all that. So I was very proud I came up with that off the top of my head. And she's like, and all the guys laughed, like, what sort of a wanker is this? But it communicated the message. I didn't have to say, listen, I'm an Aussie. I'm not sleeping with my mate's girlfriend, let alone a girl he's attracted to, who I didn't even know whether he'd slept with her or not at this stage, but it turned out he hadn't. So that was a really good way I diffused that. And hopefully there's a whole bunch of other good tips. One of the things we do with our more advanced clients is we teach them how to introduce their wings. That's something I swiped off the Pickup Artist, which is really, really good. So thank you, Mystery Method, whatever your name is, Eric, for that. So Tess, do you want to talk anything more about what kind of women usually date, or should we move on?
Yeah, I talked about this a little bit earlier, and I think we covered that really well, James. Yeah, it's a clear one that she's interested. She wants to know, do I fit what you're looking for?
Awesome. It's also to get a read on whether you're interested in her. So we might just do 2 comments because we don't want to ignore the guys. Then we'll get back onto point number 5.
Cool. Okay. So
any new guys?
Look. Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Just whoever.
Yeah. Duke's new here. I am 60s in London. Cute Vietnamese girl in her 20s. Asked my age, and I figured that was the pin. After she was a bit sparky during the convo, she asked me about my age, the hand grenade. And he says, I'm a 60s anglicized Asian guy in London. Not sure if it's realistic approaching girls in their 20s. I'm told I look 10 years younger. Was with a 35-year-old Brazilian smoke show that I met on a train.
Well, congratulations! Wonderful to have you on our YouTube lives. This is where this is why you need to ask us your questions, because generally the average 60-year-old, 20s is a stretch, unless your name's Mick Jagger, in which case that's far too. He's got to go much younger. No, that's gross. But yeah, that's probably a stretch for most people. But you look 10 years younger than you are, and you've been with a 35-year-old. So if you're talking 29-year-olds, there's not really that huge a difference. Early 20s might be a bit of a difference, but yeah. So it sounds like you can definitely do that. So I don't know, how much gray hair do you have? How much wrinkles? Probably even more than that, or equal to that, is how fit and healthy are you? Because I'm very healthy. I don't have big muscles or anything, but I'm very healthy. So I think that gives me license to go probably 10 years younger than a lot of guys my age. Some people might not agree with that, but I'm pretty sure it does. I can give you plenty of proof if need be that it works okay for me. So it sounds okay to you. Can you go to the actual question? Is there a second part to it, or was that it?
No, this is just Duke's comment. Yeah, I think he's commenting that the question about the age, the hand grenade. So maybe a bit of insecurity around that question.
That's really tough, because this is where there's so much nuance to this. Because if you do look a lot younger than your age, and there might be a gap that is a complete deal breaker, the girl's just not doing it, then that's an issue. And this is something I'm combating. I just hate lying in the majority of circumstances, ever if I can. So I'd much rather not lie about my age, which is why my number one piece of advice is to ask age early. And I've had instances that have led to sex where I've asked a girl's age early. This was a kind of big one. She was early 20s. This was a few years ago for me, not that long ago. The girl was early 20s, and I immediately, when I was attracted to her, said, "Oh, so wow, you're so worldly and interesting. Tell me, how old are you?" And I sort of looked her in the eyes to study it, and I looked her in the eyes, and she just answered honestly. And I could sort of think her, she was sort of going, should I ask him? Now she didn't ask me, but I need to sort of also add that this happened in Bali when she was on holiday, and she's just some German girl. And I was just some Aussie guy. So it wasn't like she was going to take me home and see her parents in Munich or something. So if it had just been some holiday fun, she might have gone, "Oh, I'm really attracted to him. He's so confident." She met me in a yoga class. I don't need to know his age. That might not have been the case on our home soil. But yeah, afterwards, when we were sort of parting ways, I sort of said, I don't know. I said, "Do you want to know how old I am?" She's like, "Nah, I'm good. I had a great time with you. I can live without the information." That wasn't her exact words, but she wanted to sleep with the older guy, partially because at that stage I was so confident. But yeah, she didn't need to know. So I thought that was funny. Okie dokie. We'll do one more question before we get back onto it.
Okay, a question.
No problem. I've thrown Tess in the deep end a bit. We'll get on to the next point, which is, did you hear about the new movie, the new cafe, the new play, the new restaurant that opened, the new whatever? Have you been there? There's so many like hints girls will drop. This is another one that you guys are just consistently missing, particularly with younger women. So I'd love Tessa's perspective on this. If you check out the list, I'd say this is probably the second most common, where it's a hint girls drop, but you guys just constantly miss it. So if she says, what is it? Well, a few people watching didn't like the director. Oh, yeah. Did you hear the Odyssey's in cinemas now? I'm just doing it up to the minute one. If a girl says that to you, she could be a crazy literature fan. If she's hot, send her my way. She could be a movie fan. She could just be wanting you to ask her out, and she just comes up with the first thing that comes to mind because she was seeing it come up on social media or whatever, or she saw an interview with a star or something. So yeah, so many guys just think, as Tess said at the beginning, it's just another conversation a girl's having with you, when it's actually the girl showing interest in you in so many cases. So yeah, she's fishing for you to ask her out on a date, and she's giving you suggestions of where to take it. She's literally fishing for you to ask her out on a date. Now, a bit more about female psychology here. If she's having to drop these obvious signs to you, I'm guessing most of you watching are from America or Canada or England or Australia or Germany or Holland or Sweden or Norway, where nearly everyone from these countries is just woeful with women and woeful at reading signals. Not so much the Brazilian guys, not so much some of the Southern European counterparts. A few of the guys north of New York in Montreal who are French-speaking Canadians, they have a bit of a clue. But us English speakers and many of us Western Europeans are pretty much brain dead now. The French might still be holding in there just. If a girl's actually getting to the point of bringing opportunities for you to ask her out up, she was probably interested in you a long time ago, but you're just a bit of a dipshit slow learner and you don't get it. So yeah, if a girl's saying, I mean, not in all cases, if a girl's saying this sort of stuff, you're probably a bit behind the 8 ball in terms of hitting on her, which we see all the time when Tess is coaching guys, both on Zoom and in live in person, either in private training or at our boot camps. Tess, do you want to add anything to, I mean, it might be, did you hear about the latest surfing spot if you find some tall, hunky guy who looks good in his wetsuit, who you're chatting to when you're bobbing around outside, you could maybe take me surfing there in your four-wheel drive with your cool blue heeler dog. Anyway, sorry. It could be Lance Armstrong even. But Gabby Reese better watch out if Tess gets near Lance, I reckon. I'm just teasing her with this. But anyway.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. This is, often it could be, her trying to figure out if you're interested in the same things that she is, if it's a particular restaurant or a cafe or a movie, a show, that sort of thing. But also definitely, if it's a location, like a cafe or going to the movies, that sort of thing. That is definitely a potential date suggestion as well. So yeah, again, I completely agree with James. Like, this is her making it really, really easy for you, because all you have to do is like, oh yeah, I have. Yeah, we should check it out. Or no, I haven't, but it sounds cool. Or tell me more about it. Yeah, let's go check it out. It's so easy.
Yeah. Example of that, I was at a business mastermind this year, and I thought the most attractive girl there. And again, I wanted to be very, very cautious what I did, given everyone knew my occupation. The girl was a hell of a lot younger than me, and there was a lot of other guys interested in her who I didn't want to get offside. I was pretty cautious about it, but it turned out we had quite a bit in common. And I didn't ignore her so much. I focused on networking with people who I wanted to actually advance my business, to get more set in this mastermind. Yeah, I sort of saw her. I sort of got a bit of a better look at her body. I said, oh, why not? I got a nice hotel room overlooking the ocean at this business mastermind. So I did it very, very confidently. She was walking past nervously. She'd been sort of gently stalking me for a while. And I just basically, I'm in a group of people, and I just reach out and go, hey, I won't mention her name. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, you want to join us? And then she comes over nervously because there wasn't much room for her. So I said, hey, Trevor, move along, make room for Jody. And then so she moves in, and then she's parked directly in front of me, and then we talk. And then I was talking to a girl there, and I continued talking to her. I was just rounding it out, but that also created more attraction with her, waiting for her chance. Again, social engineering. I'm sure there was 40 guys, 50 guys, maybe more, who were dramatically more attractive, younger, hunkier than me. But because I'm the one who's the best at social engineering by far, what I think was the hottest girl there was it. Sorry, she wasn't the hottest girl there. There was a stinking hot girl who was actually with someone else. The second hottest girl there was interested in me, not all the hunky 210-pound blue-eyed model types, biohackers who were at that conference. So she sat down like that. And anyway, I sat and have a nice chat to her. And the reason I'm telling you this story is she's like, oh, were you aware of the cafe that opened up there? Oh, do you want to go play paddle in the city? And then she just asked me so many things. She goes, oh, are you aware they're doing some sort of karaoke? She doesn't say, did you hear about the new cafe play? She's like one of our nervous open-ended questions working with Tess for the first time. She asked her quadruple or a quintuple barreled question. So she didn't give me one suggestion about what to do with her. She gave me 5. That's how nervous she got. So I'm just like, wow, I can't even remember all the things I meant to ask you out on. In a way that actually scared me off, because it made me realize how nervous she was, and the scope for it backfiring if I'd lost interest in her or something went wrong. But anyway, hope that was really, really valuable to you. Hopefully my stories aren't too advanced for the YouTube audience. I know my clients are eating them up. Did you want to add anything to that story, Tess? Have you ever met a guy you liked who wasn't paying enough attention to you because he was legitimately networking? He actually called you over and sort of approached you in a confident manner, and then you fired 5 successive date opportunities that he should probably ask you out on at one time.
I haven't done that. No, I think, if I get really nervous, if I'm intimidated by a guy, I would more tend to like stutter and not know what to say rather than become over talkative.
She did that too. This is more for my clients, but there's a lot of things I encourage you guys to do to get better with women that most of you watching will sound, this guy's just a wanker. What's he talking about? Like read books, particularly literature. It increases your faculty for language. This is sort of more homework, actually. For any of you who don't read, who want to do better with women, one of the best things you can do is to start reading, particularly literature. The one I always recommend is The Wolf of Wall Street, because that is like crack. It's like, you just can't put the thing down. He's not one of the world's nicest human beings, given the way he made his money initially. But yeah, he was a very, very gifted writer, possibly because he's a very good salesman. Reading can just make so much difference. What was the other thing? The other thing I often suggest, we should have the little homework badge up. Read the book. And the other thing is meditation. Now, some people say meditation helps you with your approach anxiety. I'm not sure about that one. It makes you question the need to go chasing a whole bunch of hot pussy or even average pussy, and makes you more in tune with sort of spiritual pleasures or whatever, heavenly pleasures or whatever. I found meditation made me less wanting to just run through girls, but made me much more skilled in running through girls. If you meditate long enough, you start to get this sixth sense of what's actually going on in a woman's mind, how nervous she is, and what's going on in her nether regions, which comes in really handy from time to time. I shan't say any more in this forum. So there's a bit more bonus homework for you. Okie dokie. Anything to add on that, Tess, before we move on to our next point? Or should we do the questions? We might do some more. We haven't done many questions. We'll save point 6 for a bit.
Sure.
While Tess is finding the question, I'm going to be, for you regulars, I'm going to try to build homework into this, because I literally want you to do what we tell you, get some results, and then realize that the sun shines out of Tess and James's ass, and come and get us to help you properly. Anyway, that should be taken as a joke. I don't think for a moment the sun shines out of my ass. It might shine out of Tess's, but I don't have any first-hand information to know that. I was going to make another joke there that might get me in trouble. Like, she's in a short skirt and there's a big glow on the ground beneath her. Maybe the sun does shine out of her ass. Anyway, let's move on.
Okay. Martin's asking, how do I stop overthinking and just enjoy the conversation?
Read books. Read books. My head approach coach is a carpenter. I've coached very senior barristers. I've coached PhDs in literature. I've coached PhDs in law. Lawyers you'd think would have some of the best faculty for language of anyone. I've coached hundreds and hundreds of guys with PhDs who wrote dissertations. I've coached a PhD in law. You name it. My head approach coach, I think I said at the start, is a carpenter. He's also, I believe, quite a good musician and a very good songwriter. He goes, oh, how do you write such good music? He told him to read great works of literature to become a better songwriter. So even though he's a carpenter, and I don't think, they're asking carpenters to read Homer and Dante when they're doing their carpentry qualification, he's chosen to read that, and his conversation skills are just insane. And he's on boot camps, and there's all these guys who have PhDs in law and are senior barristers going, how's fucking this guy so good at connecting with girls? It's because he's read books. So how do I stop overthinking and just enjoy the conversation? This is such a good question, Martin. Thank you. So question 1, the more advanced, long-term solution is to read books. Number 1 is to listen better. And how do you get better at listening? You meditate. That's one of the best things, because what I do with My listening is I just start meditating on what the girl says. So it's like, just like for any of you who've met, if you have meditated and you're watching this either live or in the chat, if you could put that, and just to give me some data on what I'm talking about, because I don't want to go above a whole bunch of guys' heads. I know a lot of my bootcamp clients have meditated, but I'm not very familiar with the YouTube audience. So when I'm talking to a woman, I'm like meditating on what she's saying, and because I have meditated quite a bit, I'm actually meditating on what she's feeling. I'm meditating on what she's feeling. So that makes me a dramatically better listener. So yeah, that would be my big two. Anyone who's got a sales background, particularly some sort of high ticket sales like I had in finance, you should be a much better listener than average. And you probably have some sort of muscle somewhere, or some sort of button that I definitely have, where you can go from just sort of chatting to actually, okay, I'm locked on listening. So for any guys who've worked in sales, or particularly psychologists, excellent listeners, you've probably got something you just need to lock on that you probably wouldn't do normally if you're nervous on a date. Dude, this is a YouTube live you've given us, Martin. Congratulations. The other thing which I talk about a lot, again, I can't highlight how important your questions are. My phone's sitting up there, so I can't use it. So you'll have to assume my really crappy prop here. I'm sure AI would come up with a better prop than that. So what I used to do, I don't know if I do it now. I would if I thought it was going to be the mother of my children, the early 20s, supermodel turned naturopath, meditating, literature reading, super honest girl, probably from Soviet country, St. Petersburg, my favorite. It's a city. What I'd do if I found that girl is, before I went on the date, which meant a lot to me, I would sit and go, okay, so when I met her, what did we talk about? What were her hobbies and interests? Can I remember any questions she asked me? And like, if it was Tess, hypothetically, I'd be, paraglider, that would be number one. And then I'd probably talk about, Chinese medicine, that would be number two. Then I might talk about, she's traveled quite a bit, that's number three. So I'd literally make a list of all the things. This is a whole YouTube live, Martin's asked. I'd literally make a list of all the things that I remember about Tess. Then I'd just like put them in a spreadsheet, and I'd sort them according to what was the most interesting to me. That would be paraglider. So when I went on the date with Tess, assuming she was potentially my beloved, which she can't be because she works for me, what I'd do is I would actually make open-ended questions about that. So it'd be like paragliding. So I'd be, so tell me about into paragliding. Tell me about your, you should be able to see my phone, I'm gonna dip at this. Tell me about your scariest experience paragliding. Tell me about your most amazing flight. So I'd have a bunch of questions ready. Plus there's some general ones like, who's the biggest influence on your life? So that way I could go on the date, even if I hadn't been laid since the George Bush senior presidency, when they started bombing all these countries that worship Allah, which I wasn't a fan of. And yeah, I would, and no matter how nervous I was, I'd have a backup. And what I'll often do, what I used to do at the start, I didn't have a phone. I had one of the old moleskin diaries. This isn't a moleskin diary, but it gives you an idea. So I have a little moleskin diary, a little bag I used to carry. I still do, to protect me nuts from those cell phones. You don't want to be carrying cell phones in your pocket. It might interfere with your reproduction ability and maybe give you something awful, according to some people. So I'd have the diary in the bag, and then I'd go to the toilet with my little gay baggy thing, and I'd pull out my diary and I'd look at the questions I had standard. So you guys think, why did James get to wherever he did with women? Or why did, I was going to say Elon Musk, comparing me to Elon Musk, which is absolutely absurd. Even though we're born on the same day, why did someone who's good at something get good at something? It's because they focused on fixing all the little component parts of it. So Martin, and probably nearly all of you watching, you get on a date with a girl you really like, you're scared you're going to run out of things to say. You're scared you're going to overthink. You're scared you're going to say something stupid. So what I've done in the last 4 or 5 minutes is given you what I think is a ridiculously good list of things so that you don't get nervous and you don't run out of things to say. So yeah, any questions on that? If anyone wants to say, James, you're wonderful giving us all these great tips, particularly any of our regulars, that would put a smile on my face. You keep telling Tess how beautiful she is. Tell me how useful I am. Tess is very useful too. Your smile is getting big votes. Thank you, Tess, for being so beautiful and sharing all your wonderful insights with us on YouTube. That's pretty much verbatim a lovely comment we got from one of Tess's fans. You got fans now, Tess.
Thank you.
No one
I
had heard of
appreciate
her.
it.
No one had heard of her 3 months ago. Now she's got some fans. All thanks to the genius of YouTube. Thanks, Sergey. And who's the other one? I forgot the name. I'm working too hard and getting too old. Who's the other YouTube guy? Sergey and I don't know. It was actually made by some PayPal guy who sold it to YouTube. For any of your Silicon Valley trivia. Anyway, let's move on. We'll do one more question. Tess, did you want to add anything to that? As a girl who, as a former model, might trigger a wee bit of overthinking. Do you have any tips for guys?
Yeah, I think if you're overthinking and you're getting really nervous, just keep it simple. Keeping it simple will help a lot. Obviously, if you've practiced this, practiced the skill of being outgoing and starting conversations with people in general, not only women who you're intimidated by, it's going to make that skill, you're reinforcing that skill. So it's going to be a lot easier when you actually then go and try to introduce yourself to a woman who you're attracted to, if you're used to just speaking to people in general. So that's a really important thing to do. But keep it simple. So don't force weird, over specific questions or try to be pressing her in different ways. Just stick to simple open-ended questions, really, really simple, like, oh, cool, what was that like? Or, oh, cool, tell me more about that. Really simple. And just let her do the talking. And the most important thing is to be present and engaged with her. So listening, basically. And yeah, like what James said earlier, I think that like meditation, that sort of thing, helps a lot with, being grounded, being present with a person, and being able to engage with them in a real way. So and also that as well helps with reading how nervous she is as well, like James mentioned earlier. So yeah, obviously practice the skills and then keep it simple. That's probably the best advice I can give you if you're a beginner.
So if you're in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, you're not as young, obviously. You're not as ripped or muscly or whatever. Maybe you don't have the energy. Maybe you got gray hair or wrinkles, or you're a bit of a pot or something, pot belly. You're not as sexy as you think you once were, and you get a bit nervous when you're on dates. You're a bit out of the game, and you want to actually if you do meet a girl who potentially shows some interest, or you get on a date with a girl you're really keen on, and you want to be smooth, you want to stop overthinking, you want to actually enjoy the conversation. Why don't you go from talking about yourself, spending a bunch of money on the dates, trying to impress her? Why don't you go to just having really good open-ended questions, learning to listen better, learning to really connect with the girl, then learning to touch her and plan a date so that it just becomes really easy. And that's what we can do for you. We're not so much chase girls down the street, use AI to basically fake a dating profile to sort of mislead girls into dating you, which will probably often go pear-shaped or might get a bit of a bad response. Just have genuine high quality communication skills and social intelligence and reading signals and understanding female psychology, so that women are attracted to you because they assume, like Tess has talked about and I've talked about, you're quite heavily pre-selected. So that's what we want to do for you on these YouTube lives, and that's what Tess does when she works with people a lot. So the next point we have is, what do you do for fun? What are you doing this weekend? There's probably a whole bunch of other permutations for that. This is a similar genre to, have you heard about the new movie, the new play, the new cafe? But it's much more general. She's probably trying to find out more about you, which is a single in itself that she's interested, but she's probably also fishing for maybe something to talk about, some common interests, and also, again, something that you can ask her out with. So the truth is, men, I don't want to be disrespectful, but most of the countries I've named, Australia, America, Canada, Germany, Holland, Norway, Sweden, etc., we are all so incompetent with women, so profoundly incompetent with women. And with technology and the post-COVID world, meaning everyone's so much more isolated, would have become much more desperate than ever. So we're not only clueless around female psychology, many of us have had our social skills seriously hurt by the last 6 or 7 years of technology and the lockdowns. So so many of you are just clueless if a girl shows interest in you. And trust me, you're getting more interest now than at nearly any point in your lifetime. If you can just dress halfway decently, it's not funny. I might talk a little bit like Tess. Can someone remind me to say about my experience at the library, working from the library? This is some of the most exciting stuff I've got for you guys. I've heard, particularly my clients, I've heard in a long time. So the majority of men just don't realize her asking these questions or making all these signals means she's interested in you, and she's either interested in you or she's very interested in you, and she's just sort of filling in her checklist in order to see if she really is interested in you. It's hard for us men because women are so freaking complicated. They're so freaking complicated. They're completely different at one point in their life. Like, with respect to Tess, she's talked openly about how she was very different at 22, the way she tested men, what she wanted from men, than the way she might have been at 30 or 35. She's been quite open about that. And they're completely different psychologically in what they want. So whereas us men, we're very, very straightforward. Don't be a bitch. Be sexually attractive. That's basically it. Maybe have some stuff in common. And if you can occasionally cook a meal we like, all my Christmases have come at once. Well, you're my dream girl. And women have all these dating coaches explaining men to you. It doesn't really seem much more complicated than that. Am I missing anything, Tess? Oh, you should. Guys, am I missing anything? Let's rehearse these again. Be physically attractive. If I can say, don't eat too much garbage. Move a bit. Don't be a bitch. That's probably even bigger. Don't confuse us with too many of these games, even though we know it happens, but minimize it. And if you occasionally say something a bit intelligent or cook us something nice and make us feel good about you in public, we're going to marry you. It's just, there's no other girls like you. You're like a supermodel who flies backwards with pink Victoria's Secret angel wings, who never gets upset with me. It's like, you're a keeper just on those metrics alone. Us guys are so straightforward. Don't be a bitch. Be pretty physically attractive. Make me want to have an erection, and we'll keep you forever. You're the best I've had in my lifetime. Whereas women are so much more complicated. They're just so much more complicated. They need your job to be a certain level of socioeconomic status. Sorry. They want to know that you have a level of intelligence suitable for them. Sorry. They want to know, this is a huge one so many guys underestimate. They want to know that you've got a lot of hobbies and interests in common. They want to know what you've got in common with. That's a big thing on their checklist. Just like the example of the guy who was a meditator, took a girl who had zero interest in him, even with all the stuff he's got going for him, to her just basically going after him like a rabid pit bull terrier. They want women know you've got to have some sort of skill by people, and most importantly, they want to assess your perception of how good you are with women. Plus, you got to be able to dress well. You got to perform in a restaurant, not embarrass them. You got to be good with their family. There's so much shit women. You got to be good in bed. There's so much shit You got to be patient. You got to be listening. You got to be understanding. There's so much shit women expect from a man, and they're testing for all of this. Whereas us guys are so straightforward. I think that's why this is something I've said before, but write it down. Men go to the gym and lift weights to become attractive to women, because one of the things we want the most in women is a girl with a attractive body, because we're stupid. And women, they put a huge amount of effort into their outfits and coordinating things and having a handbag and shoes that match, because that's what they're looking for in men, because they want a guy who's high status. They assume a guy who's high status has had girlfriends before who taught him this, or potentially paid someone to teach him this. So they do this to attract men when they really just need to focus on how their body looks. So yeah, it's like men are completely stupid and women are completely stupid, because we try to attract the opposite sex doing what attracts our sex. They don't see the difference. That's why I ran into one of my favorite clients, and we went, I had to buy some stuff for winter. And I think one of the big lessons he got off me is, I hate this shit, but I'm sitting looking at scarves for winter and I'm going, oh, that one's the correct thickness, and but it's the wrong length. And this one's the wrong thickness, but it's the right length. And I'm sort of plaguing 2 or 3 sales assistants trying to see if they can find something out the back, to see if I could find a scarf that looked good. Now, any of you watching me do this would go, that guy must love the taste of cock. He must love the taste of cock. No straight man would ever do that. No straight man would ever go that much trouble to get his scarfy waffy the right thickness and the right length so he can tie it up and it came the right way down. He'd have to be gay. He'd have to be gay. There's no other reason he'd ever do that. Yes, there is. Because I've got no biceps, no nothing. So I've been injured so long, but I'm getting vast amounts of attention at 55 because I know how to present myself, which is boring as batshit for me. But the outcome, the ROI payoff is so high, which is why the second thing Tess does with you on Zoom is goes through your wardrobe in extreme detail and shares the photos with other coaches. So yeah, I got into a bit of a rant there. So yeah, women are so much more complicated than men. So they ask these little subtle questions where they're essentially hitting on you, that you guys just probably just aren't aware of. Tess, do you want to give me your 2 cents? Have you done it already on what do you do for fun? Blah 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 blah.
Yeah, what do you do for fun? So this one again, this is more about what your personality is. Like, what are your values? How do you like to spend your time? These are, again, really important things for her to be asking when she's trying to figure out, is this someone I want to spend time with long term, or yeah, potentially just start dating to do some of these things with, right? So yeah, this one is more about personality in general and your interests. She's not going to be asking you about these things if she doesn't care. So yeah, again, a really simple question, which you guys might think is just casual, like, oh, just making conversation. But there's also potentially a really big reason why she's asking, because this is really useful information for her to gauge whether it's going to be successful dating you.
Oh, Tess, I'm really throwing you in the deep end. I just realized then when I talked about that particular client, I've had requests from a few people that some people really love my stories, but they also love your stories. Some people hate my stories, but anyway, that's cool. I'm not going to be loved by everyone. So yeah, if you have any, I should have asked you this about 4 days ago. I'm sorry about that. Probably a week would have been better, but anyway, I'm throwing you in the deep end now, and you usually manage to swim, so no obligation. So if you've got any questions on any of the points, we might even do a quick reviewy now. Tess may have a perler. So how old are you really? That's one that is very sophisticated that I think Tess talked about very well. So why are you still single? Again, that's quite sophisticated as well. So what do you do? That's probably the biggest one of all. And you guys are missing that. You don't see the significance linking. What do you do to, she might want to take me home and suck me wiener one time soon. You just think she's just a girl talking to you. What kind of women do you usually date? That's a very, very good one too. That's really her showing a lot of interest, particularly, especially if you're a higher status guy. Did you hear about the new thing, the new movie, the new cafe, the new play, the blah, blah? Have you ever done this? You know, is this a good place to hike? Blah, 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 blah. And then have we handled that yet? We've done what do you do for fun? Have we?
Yeah.
Yep, we've done that. So what do you do for fun? What do you do on the weekend? All these things. If any good stories or even stories that just pop to mind, any of these, Tess, let me know and you can go. If not, we'll get on with, we might do a few more questions. The way it works, we usually come out the gates with 3 or 4 questions of our key points. Then we try to do, just to be respectful to the guys who ask us questions, we try to do quite a few chunks there, particularly anyone new and particularly anything that's very relevant to what we're talking about. And then we tend to get through the points over the course of it. And then we try to leave a lot of time for questions. If anyone's wondering why these are so long, it's because some of you wonderful guys are asking us so many good questions and we're trying to do the best job of answering them we can. Partially to change your life, partially to show you how fucking good we are at this. If we can just be thrown all these questions and answer off the top of our head, it probably suggests we've been doing it for a while. Tess is a pretty girl, but she isn't some pretty girl who's just sitting reading some script some smart marketer gave her to read into YouTube so that she could build this huge business. To be honest, the first 2 or 3 minutes is scripted. So what I said was actually not true, but Tess only reads the first 2 or 3 minutes. Everything else is off the cuff. See how honest I am? That's what got me in trouble with, I've got 2 by girlfriends. I wouldn't mind taking you and introducing them to you. I know, anyway. Okay, so can we do another question, please?
Yeah, sure. A question from Martin who says, I had a 20-year-old Russian artist ask me about, I'm assuming it says ask me about my age. Then I turned it back on her, and she says she couldn't tell. Then she said it didn't matter anyway because it's just a number. I did ask her relationship status.
Okay, it's good you've asked, particularly from what I can, I think he's worked with Tess before, so he did have a full head of grey hair. If she was literally 20, were there any signals in the lead up that she might be interested in you? You could have just been in a social group and maybe she had a boyfriend and she was just being polite. Was there any indications she might have been interested in you before? Again, women from more traditional backgrounds, if she'd grown up in the Soviet Union, her mother might have married a man much older. And there are some girls who much prefer older men as a rule. I think, what's her name? I'm not very good with celebrities. Michael Douglas's wife or girlfriend. She's Welsh. What's her name? Someone help me in the comments, please. Martin, you're the movie buff. Her name will come to me. She's in a Gold Digger movie with George Clooney. She's a brunette. I can't remember her name. Anyway, I'm not very good at movie trivia. Or I'm getting old and the dementia's kicking in. One of the two. Too many nights drinking myself silly in me teens and 20s and even early 30s. Catherine Zeta-Jones. I think that's her, yeah. Some women naturally just like guys much, much, much older. I've actually managed to find a couple of them in my life who are some of the best women in my life. So it's good you asked her relationship status. So if I find a girl I could potentially be sexually interested in, who I get an inkling is interested in me, I will sometimes lead with the age so that you can get it out straight away. In terms of coaching you, if you do have a full head of grey hair, then she probably doesn't think you're 20 years younger than you are. So she probably wouldn't be too shocked by the age. In the case of a guy who definitely looks a lot younger than he is, like the first guy we had, you might want to have some diplomacy around how you handle that. That's something I'm kind of working on in terms of how I handle that. My current best solution is to lead and actually get the age thing on the table first. But yeah, that is something. I don't honestly have the perfect answer for that right now. Great question. Next question, please, Tess. Did you want to add to that, because you've worked with Martin?
Yeah, I think the fact that she's saying, oh, age is just a number anyway, it doesn't really matter. And she's saying, oh, I can't really tell how old you are. Like those are signs that she's trying to show you that it's not something she's going to judge you badly on. Okay, the fact that she's kind of she's asked you, but then she said, oh, it doesn't matter anyway, it's just a number. Or I can't really tell, she's trying to be a bit playful, she's trying to be nice about it, etc. So it's not like she's asking you because she wants to be like, oh, you're really old, like leave me alone. She was either just making conversation, or she was trying to just get some information, but it wasn't like a red flag for her. So yeah. Moving on to the next one, James.
Yes, please.
Okay. Virtual's asking, Tess, in regard to point 1, I was going to ask, what do you actually say when she asks my age? And is it now more like just say my age and not be insecure or worried about it? I think not being insecure or worried about your age is definitely key. And this goes with, not just age, but any other like weakness or insecurity that you might have. If you're really comfortable in your own skin and you can just present it in a way that you're like, it's not a problem for me, she's not going to receive it that way. And on the other hand, if you're like, oh yeah, I'm kind of in my 50s, or whatever, or you're like, oh yeah, oh, you're a surfer, oh really, yeah, I've actually never surfed in my life, or I don't know, just something like that, a weakness, and you present it as a weakness like I just did, she's gonna see it that way, right? But if you're like, yeah, I'm in my 50s, then she's and you're just projecting that with confidence, as if, yeah, this is it, it's not an issue for me, she's much less likely to see that as an issue as well. So yeah, again, it's about your confidence. That's really what's key here. James, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I know this guy. If you do look your age, just say it straight away. Just go, yeah, well, I'm 55. The only piece of nuance is if a guy, potentially a very healthy guy or a sort of a health freak, looks a lot younger than his age, then that's something you want to handle quite carefully. I'm not saying I have the perfect answer. I hate lying. And if you do, it could come back to haunt you. So yeah, for guys who roughly look their age, just tell her your age. For guys who honestly think they look a lot younger, like a lot younger, come back and ask me in a few weeks, and I'll have a good think about that. I don't have the perfect way to handle that. You're probably going to be honest in the end, but my best way is just to lead with the age. And sometimes when I lead with the age, the girls don't even ask me. But where they do, I get a really good read on how big a deal it is for them. I've told this story before, but it's very helpful. I was at a yoga place, and I noticed there was a girl with an insane body there. Turned out she was an Instagram model with 80,000 followers or whatever they have on Instagram. Not really a proper agency model, but yeah, very hot body. So she walked out and I was like, hello. And then I did my little social engineering, looked her up and down thing. And again, because I did this well, there was so many hot guys in that yoga class. I looked her up and down in a big way, and I went on with my mat. And then I very carefully timed it so that we walked out the room roughly together. And I stopped, put my shoes on. She walked a little bit ahead of me. And then, because women sit and think about this stuff the whole time, she went and just stood by a notice board. And then, I don't know, she was probably 10 meters ahead of me when she left. And then, so by going and standing near the notice board, that was my come approach me. Honestly, I think these are so valuable for you guys. So I did a really good job. And a few minutes later, we were up in a cafe at the yoga studio. This again was in Bali, and I it was very okay. I was sitting like this, eating a coconut, and I was sitting facing forward like that, and she was sitting like, it's hard to, she was sitting with her legs up, both her knees were pointing at me. So she's looking directly at me. I'm leaning over a table, just scooping bits out of a coconut. And so she's completely front on to me, and I'm interested in the coconut, she's interested in me, because I teach reading signals, not just knowing things when they're explained to you, actually be able to read it very casually. That's what Tess does with you. So I knew she was really interested. So I go, okay, this looks like a very easy thing, but there's a huge enormous age gap, because I'm pretty sure she was 23. So immediately I go, and she said something interesting. So I did my usual thing. Oh, wow, that's you seem really, really worldly for your age. Tell me, how old are you? And she said 23. And I go, oh, wow. And I think I deviated to my usual thing. Oh, so tell me, what do your parents do? Her parents weren't particularly impressive occupations at all. But yeah, because of that, the age came out, and then she's like, so how old are you? From memory, I was 48 or 49. I can't remember exactly. And so she goes 23. I go like 49. She's like, my last boyfriend was 28. So that was her trying to justify to me that she's cool dating older guys. But yeah, there's a bit of a difference between 5 years older and 26 years older. So anyway, I hope that's really, really useful. I don't have the perfect way to present age with these huge gaps, and you look a lot younger, and there could be an advantage into holding it back. Because it could be with that girl, if I said I was 49, or she might have gone, oh, okay, I really like him. If I'd said I was 55, for instance, she might go, oh, no, that's just too old. The guy can get the pension. I'm not doing that. I barely got out of uni. So yeah, anyway, I hope that makes sense to you guys. Might do one more question before. Sorry, have we answered this question? Tess, in regards to point one, I was going to ask, what do I actually say when she asks my age, and is now more like just say my age, not being insecure about it. In your case, Luke, definitely. I know you've had some serious health problems, not your own fault, just something unfortunate happened to you. If you don't look a fair way younger than your age, just answer and be honest. One of the things they teach salesmen is, if you're selling a product and someone goes, how old are you? How old are you? I need a holiday. I'm having a wee holiday tomorrow. So yeah, I need a holiday. While I'm making excuses, I swim a lot. I've got fur in my hair. It's not dandruff. I swim a lot, so my ear is completely blocked, and it's so bad this time I'm a bit dizzy. And Amazon doesn't sell hydrogen peroxide, and I've been too busy to go grab some at the chemist, so I'm in a wee bit of trouble. So bear with my incompetence tonight. So yeah, just when people are training salespeople, when the prospect asks, oh, so what's your price? You don't go, oh, well, yeah, we usually like to charge $5,000, and yeah, that's kind of what the price is. But yeah, I was just wondering, what's your budget at the moment? Don't do that. You look like a complete loser. You just go, it's $5,000. and just matter of factish. So it's if you're not, this is really good stuff I'm coming up with on the fly. Thank you to Luke and Martin. I think hopefully you guys think. I'm not the judge. You're the judge, not me. Feel free to call me a wanker in the chat if you want. YouTube loves the interaction. So yeah, if you don't look relatively younger your age, just say it straight away, just like you teach a salesman. One of the other reasons we're such good dating coaches, I was one of the highest paid salesmen in Australia in my 20s. So I'm pretty bloody good at selling financial services. And I took some of those skills to sell my semen to girls. And I got rather good at selling my semen to girls, even though I usually used a rubber thing to stop it before it got there, which is a lot more information you guys need. But I grew up in the era of AIDS where legs super glued shut for a whole fucking decade, 15 years or something. Anyway, moving along. We'll do one more question before we get on to point number 7.
Okay, cool. Let's have a look here. I just want to try and do one for one of the new guys. We've got a couple of new guys interacting, which is great. Welcome, welcome. DJ Hellfire, ZZ Staff. We love having new guys here. Duke, 888 November. I think those are some of the new guys who I've recognized here. Cool, yeah, thanks for engagement. Jay, Will, awesome, guys. So let's have a question here. Question from Jay Will. Sorry, I haven't read this. When she gives a number, act surprised like she was right. Embellish it. Keynote her. Ask her how she's psychic. Hype her up. Then rug pull and tell her she's wrong. Then give the real age. Okay, so you're saying that your suggestion is when you ask when a woman asks you how old you are, then you say, have her guess, and then when she gives a number, you act surprised, like she was right, and embellish it, like, oh my god, you got it right, wow, you're a psychic, wow, and she gets all hyped up, and then rug pull and say, no, actually, I'm not that old, I'm this old, and you're saying it creates a moment, a fun moment, involves keynote and an emotional spike. What do you think about that, James?
You can start, Tess. You're the pretty girl with an IQ above like 72.
Yeah, so again, like the whole hypering her up, going like, oh wow, you're a psychic, or all this, you're playing a game with her, and it's just a bit ingenuine. It's ingenuine. So basically, when you rug pull and be like, haha, no, actually, I'm not that old. I'm this old. What you've done is if you have hyped her up and she's gone like, oh, haha, that's so funny. Really? Did I get it right? Blah, blah. And then you rug pull, you're kind of dumping that. And then she's like, oh, okay, how old are you? And so it then actually becomes a negative when you tell her how old you are. Whether it's older or younger, then it's a come down, which you don't exactly want to orchestrate the come down. So I agree that being playful can work really well in terms of like bringing down barriers, getting women to open up to you, and making her feel at ease. But I think that the direct approach and just being confident and comfortable in your own skin tells her a lot more about, well, it's just a lot more powerful in terms of making you come across as a guy who's not insecure and is also genuine, who's really genuine. You can just say, yeah, I'm this age. Or I also think that if you're a little bit more vague about it and say, yeah, I'm in my 40s, I'm in my 50s, that can also suffice. So you don't necessarily have to say I'm 57. You can say, yeah, I'm in my 50s. Yeah, I think that's also fine if you don't want to give a direct number. But yeah, I would say, yeah, the emotional spike, etc., like fun is good, but when it involves being ingenuine like that, and also forcing it, it can seem like you're trying too hard. And yeah, again, it's indicating that even though it was clearly a joke, it's just ingenuine. It's not the best foot to start off on if you're trying to actually build an authentic connection.
That's great, Tess. Can you give some bullet points, as in what were the key points you just said for the guys?
Yeah, so the key points I said were, don't orchestrate a come down for her. Like if you're trying to hype her up around something authentic. Sorry, this is not, I'm bad at dot points. Okay, so fun or playful can be good, but it has to be authentic. Authenticity is key here. You don't want to come across as ingenuine if you're trying to build authentic connection. And confidence and being comfortable in your own skin beats everything. It beats being playful. It beats creating fun and to get her to drop some barriers. It shows that you're confident and comfortable in your own skin, which is super attractive to women.
Thanks, Tess. Okay. We at Social Coach, okay, if Russell Brand's watching this and he proposes doing that, he will probably nail it like nobody's business, and it will be very, very effective for him. Russell Brand has not come to Social Coach looking for help with women. We don't coach many guys like Russell Brand. Other stat, if you actually meet Neil Strauss, the guy who wrote The Game, he's like 5'5". He's very small. He's probably, I don't even know, 100 pounds, 110 pounds or something. And most people, a lot of people would assume he's gay, and he might even play gay up, because part of potentially being gay is you can get closer to women without actually triggering other guys hitting on me, which Russell Brand uses like a master. So we don't coach many guys who you think, oh, he's gay. We tend to coach programmers, engineers, doctors, business owners, some very wealthy business owners. We coach so many white collar professionals. We coach a lot of blue collar guys, particularly guys who have their own business, and a few fly in, fly out guys. So most of our guys, you're not going to mistake them for being gay. So I think this, what we would call cocky funny or forced playful, what I personally call fake alpha. I'm not saying for a second it doesn't work, because Russell Brand makes it sing. Sure, he's had more hot girls than me. But for the majority of our clients, we haven't coached you, so we don't know for you, Jay Will. We think it's a really big mistake because it's hard to teach, it's hard to execute. And the big overwhelming point is women have, I think the scientists say women have 5 to 10 times the social intelligence intuition of men. If you're trying to learn something, if you're trying to fake something, if you're trying to remember something, if you're trying to act something, they know. And it's one of the most unattractive things there is. And they rate you down straight away. So most of our clients aren't guys who would pull that off very well. But if they use touch, eye contact, body language, ask really good questions, touch skillfully, which we put a huge amount of effort into helping guys master touch with really beautiful girls on our live events and our boot camps, then they don't need to do this sort of cocky, what I call fake alpha, hyper up stuff. They just need to be Daniel Craig, James Bond, for lack of a better example, and just approach her really confidently, build the conversation really confidently, touch her really confidently, and sweep her off the feet with this amazing connection, amazing conversation, and amazing escalation. So we, Social Coach does not teach that stuff. If Russell Brand or a Russell Brand came along, we might suggest they're a lot more flirty than our average engineer, doctor, programmer, hardworking, stressed out business owner client. But these aren't the sort of guys we help. And I've seen a lot of guys who are software engineers who try to apply this stuff, and it is basically like it is so bad. They just don't have the, you can see Tessa's smile. They just do not have the personality to pull it off. Tess could do 50 fucking sessions with some of our clients. And there's a guy on this who, you know, at one stage in his life was worth a shitload of money, who's extremely intelligent, like extremely intelligent, and a very serious analytical guy. Tess could do 100 Zoom dates with this guy before he ever got a handle on this, despite his whatever 160 IQ. This isn't what is the best thing for our clients after 20 years of coaching. If it works for you, then go for it. I would never tell you to stop, but we haven't coached you. But for 97, 98% of the guys we coach, if we coached 100 guys, it'd only be 2 or 3 guys who are saying, be much more flirty, hyper up, because it would be much more genuine. The final thing I'll nail is we're now helping guys in our 40s, 50s, and 60s. Some of these guys are out of a nasty divorce where they had a 15-year sexless marriage, like one of my clients who's now dating a 23-year-old girl with one of the best bodies you'd see in months in Sydney. Some of these guys are like that and they want to play the field a lot, but most of the guys we help now in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, maybe they want to sleep around a bit, get more experience with women. They just want to meet a really good girl to share their life with. Some of them want to start a family late in life. So they're not trying to hype her up and play all these games and ask if she's psychic. They just want a really good connection with a great girl, not to pick up, club girls or, the thing everyone says about the pickup artists, to the extent that their methods work, they work on girls who are either very damaged, often daddy issues or horrible things happening to them when they were young, or they're happening on girls of very limited intelligence and or attractiveness. Anyway, I've covered that enough. Do you want to add anything to my rant? That's a really useful question, Jay Will, because that really separates us from so much of what I see on YouTube. And so many of the biggest people on YouTube, they're just taking the stuff from The Game or David D'Angelo. For any of you who know these people, the iconic pickup artists who started the industry, and they're just redoing it in YouTube videos. Anyway, let's move on to the next question if Tess doesn't have anything to add. Yeah. We might just get on to the next point. Sure. I'd love feedback on this. Was this stuff valuable to you? Tess, I don't know if you have a piece of paper. Can you make a note on Martin's question? We should put that into the chapter summary. Martin asked a really good question that I talked about a bit.
Sure.
I
just wanted to say, so Jay Will said, I hear what you're saying, but it's never hurt me. So again, Jay Will, never met you before. Welcome. Thanks for your awesome questions, comments tonight. But yeah, as James was saying, this can work if you are naturally a really outgoing, bubbly, playful person, and it's just very authentic to your character, then yes, that can work, like what James said. But yeah, I would say for 97% of guys, especially the kind of guys who we work with, that's not their personality. And we would never, like James said, we would never coach you to force that, because it just falls so flat when you're trying to be funny and you're not a funny guy. Especially with like overuse of sarcasm, etc. It really devalues the authenticity of the whole relationship. Like, coming across as the joker, she might be like, oh yeah, I'll talk to this guy, he's kind of funny, but it's not necessarily sexy or leading to authentic connection, which is really what women are looking for, if they're thinking about dating you seriously. Okay.
I might just follow on. Tess has made some good points. So Russell Brand, if you book a session with Tess and you do that and you do it well, which you probably will, I'm not telling you to stop, because that's silly. It's a case-by-case basis. If it works for you, Jay Will, keep going with it. If you tell us your age and your occupation, that would do well. We do get some clients who are a little bit more on the effeminate side, some of whom are very, very playful, and we are pushing them to be much more playful. But for most of our clients, particularly 40s, 50s, 60s, looking for relationships, that's a really bad move. And yeah, depending on what you answer, we'd love to see you split test social coach versus what you're currently doing. As I said at the beginning, I coached one of the lead coaches for the two biggest dating / pickup companies from, I think, about 2006 or 2007. I think he was coaching till about 2013 or 14. I can't remember exactly. I think he was a roommate with Mystery, literally. I could have my facts slightly wrong, but he was certainly very good friends with him. And the RSD guy, he was good friends with him, but I coached him. He became a good friend. Okie dokie. I hear. Okay, next question, Tess. And then we'll get on to the next point.
Okay, another question. All right, we've got a question here from another new person, ZZ Staff. Welcome. Oh, sorry, here we go. I am a 77-year-old who doesn't consider older age as a problem. However, a woman under 28 is a problem as she may be too young. So in my opinion, being too young is a problem. I prefer a lovely 50-year-old. And by the way, I enjoy talking to any woman. I am Caucasian and speak to beautiful, ugly, fat, black, African American at any location, though I don't do the bar thing.
Good on you, man. You've got so much license to talk to anyone you want. And yeah, if you're like a high status 77-year-old, so many 50-year-olds will be very, very keen on you. So that's fantastic. Beautiful, ugly, fat. But yeah, African Americans, I've had one fucking smoking hot African American girl, I can tell you that. And yeah, they've got certain tricks in the bedroom that the white girls don't have. I can tell you that for sure. And I once shared the bed of she's not African American, but she was from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And yeah, when she got on top, I experienced something very special. Yeah, she could do things with her hips that no white girl could ever fathom. Anyway, bit more of an overshare there. Tess probably didn't want to know that, but yeah. And she was in the finals of her country's beauty pageant. Anyway, I'm thinking back to my 30s where I just traveled nonstop, all these wonderful moments where I lived in this beautiful place overlooking this enormous, beautiful bay where like $60 million yachts came in all the time. Anyway, shut up, James. Let's change these guys' lives. Stop recollecting old times. This is what happens when you get these skills. You can live the most amazing life.
Well, I think this is awesome. Yeah, obviously, I think as a 77-year-old, you've had a lot of life experience, etc., which kind of it makes sense that you're really comfortable talking to lots of different women of different ages, etc. You've got that confidence, you know who you are, you're comfortable in your own skin, which is really awesome. And yeah, that ability to just speak to people in general, women in general, is such a strength. So that's really awesome. And ZZ Staff gave us a little bit more about himself. I was a captain in the US Army Education, Ohio State University. I wanted to enhance my communication and speaking ability and studied English and Spanish. Commercial pilot, love to fly. And then you said, I have provided my age in this chat. However, one response could be or include, when a woman asks, how old are you? Old enough to have accumulated a great deal of life experience resulting in desirable traits. Okay. So yeah, I think, so that one's a little bit more of a vague answer. It's probably a little bit overcomplicated. Again, I think keep it simple, keep it colloquial. Like if you read that in writing, it might read a certain way, but when you say it out loud, it comes across very formal. So remember, just keep it simple, keep it colloquial in spoken conversation. But yeah, I think, yeah, saying like old enough is creates some intrigue, which is definitely, there is some strength to doing that sort of thing. But if it comes across as an insecurity, again, that's going to be a minus. Like, you want it to come across as, I'm not insecure at all about this. Yeah, James, did you want to add to that?
Wow, you sound like a really interesting guy who's done a lot. I must say, in truth, I've coached quite a few 60-year-old studs. One guy was dating women. One guy is 60. He dated multiple at a time. A 26-year-old, a 36-year-old was his oldest, and then there was two in between there. And there was a yoga teacher, a psychologist, a professional singer, and who was the last one? I can't remember. And a girl with her own business. Yeah, he flew from Nashville to do the course. So I've trained 60-year-old studs. I've yet to train a 70-something stud. So if you want to be the first one, especially as you seem to be such a good guy, such an interesting guy, it would be I need some 70-something-year-old studs to show off about. So if anyone wants to apply for that role, yeah, book a date with Tess. Okie dokie. Next question. We might actually get back onto the to the regular programming. Are you this charming with all the girls? They don't tend to say it like that, unless you're seducing Elizabeth Hurley or the Queen, maybe. I think the Queen's no longer with us. I don't know many royals I can name apart from the Queen. The one who's the soap opera. No, she doesn't talk like that. Shut up, James. So, are you just charming with all the girls? Hidden meaning, she's acknowledging she's attracted to you. This is kind of overt. And she's also doing a huge big test on how you answer. This could suggest you're quite a confident guy, could be high status guy. If it's a younger girl with an older high status guy, this is really pertinent to some of our confident clients. She might be trying to figure out whether if she does go down this path with you, she's in any way special or she's just another sort of notch in your belt, whether you'll be with her for a few nights or a week or a month, or whether it's potentially something serious. And yeah, it's a real invitation to hit on her properly, I think. So again, so many of these little phrases girls use tick so many boxes. Tess, did you want to give your 2 cents worth on that? Again, the homework. As we go through these points, can you put the homework little thing up on the stage so people know? Homework. Please do some of it. We want you to stop and think. If you're watching the replay, stop the video and go, okay, as you replay the 47 or the 62 or the 38 years of your life, think, where was that girl that I kind of liked, but I thought she wasn't interested in me? And if you can remember some of the questions she asked you, particularly the common ones like, so what do you do for work? Particularly the common ones like that. What hints are women dropping that you're missing? What hints are women dropping that you're missing? I want you guys to really focus on that. So for the guys who are serious about improving their lives, get out a piece of paper and really think through all the recent girls you've been on a date with. Think through any girls you've been on a date with, particularly one you really liked, and try to, if you're anything like me, when I was atrocious with women, I'd get my one date every 2 years, which is nearly always a girl in my industry or a girl I worked with. And I would have been crazy about her, batshit crazy. It didn't matter how much money I made as a financial advisor. All I thought about when I went to work, when I went to sleep the most time, was this girl I had a huge crush on. So I was having a really stressful time at work. And what happened with her, and am I closer to her, and will I get to meet her, and does she like me, and does she still like me? And then I'd actually get on a date with her. And then she'd probably drop so many of these things. And thinking back, I remember lots of girls drop these sort of hidden little hit-on hints that Tess and I are telling you about. So yeah, I want you to think back to dates that didn't go anywhere, maybe you got put in the friend zone, maybe she flaked on you. Just think, was there anything she asked where you're like, oh, wow, now I can see how that could have been a hint? Something so simple as what are you doing on this weekend? What are you doing for fun? did you see the new, whatever you call it, Christopher Nolan movie with Anne Hathaway, whoever is starring in it, which could have meant she was hitting on you, but you didn't see it. So please do the homework and try to just get a handle on some of this. So yeah, I is charming with all the girls. I gave you my 2 cents worth. Tess, could you give your 2 cents worth while I visit a little room? And as they say, and certainly the greatest American movie of the 90s I can remember, that's a little more information than I need, Vincent, but you go right ahead. That's what Uma Thurman says to John Travolta when she comes back after Quentin Tarantino has a bit of a Uma Thurman foot fetish. And he probably had a big foot fetish on Uma because she's 6 foot tall and she's probably got some pretty big feet for a Sheila. Sheila's what we call women down under. Tess, your 2 cents worth on this when I finish my useless 90s movie trivia. One of my favorites of the 90s.
Okay, thanks, James. So, are you this charming with all the girls? So if she asks you this, definitely she's trying to, first of all, she's calling you charming. So that's a good sign. But also, yeah, she might be thinking, oh, this guy's like quite charismatic. You know, he's quite confident. He seems pretty skillful. This is going well, but is this guy just really outgoing, and is he good with women? You know, is he a charismatic guy just naturally, or am I special? You know, is he giving me special attention? Is there something here? So if she's asking you this, that's definitely a good sign that she's trying to figure out where she stands, maybe. But in a really not obvious, again, subtle way, trying to figure out, are you this charming with all the girls? And I think actually there was actually a really interesting question that linked to this as well. Someone asked, I'll see if I can find it, but someone asked a question like, how do you know? Oh, here we go. A question from Nolan Richards. How does one know when the reception is hitting on them as opposed to just doing her job? And if she is, how do you involve touch in the situation? So we'll just address the first part of this question first because it relates to our point number 7. Are you this charming? Are you this charming with all the girls? Let's go back to that comment. How do you know when a reception is hitting on you? It can be difficult. It can be difficult. So women, again, yes, if she's working in a service role, obviously, particularly when there are tips involved, like a waitress, she's going to be being friendly, right? She wants to be making money, and yeah, it's her job to be friendly, basically. So if you think she's hitting on you, think twice. Think twice about that. But if she starts asking you personal questions, like some of the other questions we've mentioned tonight, like, oh, so what do you do for work? What do you like to do for fun? Asking you questions about your life, what kind of women you like to date, etc. Those could be good signs that she actually is interested in you more than just a client. And you could also always ask her as well, oh, so are you always this friendly with all your customers? Something like that, where she, you're kind of being quite direct and putting her on the spot to let her know, oh, well, yeah, no, I really enjoy talking to you. Or if she's like, oh, yeah, well, it's my job to be friendly. That can probably give you a bit more clarity on that sort of thing. How do you involve touch in the situation? With a receptionist, I would say usually she's behind a desk, so it might be next to impossible to incorporate touch in that sort of situation. And I wouldn't necessarily try to be involving touch when a woman's working as well, because that could make her feel really uncomfortable. Especially when you don't know, is she just doing her job and being nice, or is she actually interested in me? Because if you try and touch her and she's just doing her job, that's really bad. You could definitely push her in the opposite direction. So I would only in this scenario try to involve touch if if you're able to get her on a date, that sort of thing. Sorry, James, I just segued to this question because I was mentioning that our point number 7, are you this charming with all the girls, is a question that, a woman's trying to figure out, are you interested in her? Or are you just a really charismatic guy? She wants to know where she stands. And it's, and the fact that she's calling you charming is always a good thing. It means she's calling that out, that she finds you charming. But I thought that related well to this question here. How does one know if the reception is hitting on you? I said you could also ask her a question. If you're not sure, is she just doing her job, or if she's actually interested in you, by asking, oh, so are you wow, you're really friendly. Are you this friendly with all your customers, or whatever it is, and kind of get a gauge based on that. And then I was talking about touch and being really careful if a woman's if there's a physical barrier like a desk between the two of you, I wouldn't push it, the touch. And also if she is just working and not necessarily interested in you, it could make her really, really uncomfortable if you were trying to touch her, etc., while she's working. If you read that wrong, if you thought, oh, this girl's into me, and she's actually just being friendly because it's her job.
Can I ask, is this a receptionist at your work, or is it just some gym or some random thing? Because my answer would be radically different in those two situations. YouTube will probably take 2.5 minutes for the comment to come through. So if it's a receptionist at your work, I'd ask you to think assuming you're a professional, you've put a lot of time into your career, I'd ask you to reconsider if it's worth it. You need to have some once in a lifetime connection, given where the world is in 2020, because there's so much potential for it to go pear-shaped. Did you take not work? Thank you. Can you go back? I'll just answer for work in case guys are interested. So if you are convinced that she's the mother of your children and you really want to hit a girl at work, Natalia, the Russian girl, she was wearing red, made a video called How to Pick Up Girls at Work on our main channel. That's really useful for any guys who want to pick up a girl at work. Use with caution. So if you do want to do that, I wouldn't use touch. I would use eye contact. I'd just hold her eye contact a much longer period of time. It's much harder for a girl to go to HR and go, James held my eye contact when he was talking to me. He's a pervert, Harvey Weinstein person. It's much harder for her to use eye contact versus he just touched me on the shoulder. As soon as you touch her on the shoulder in a corporate situation, in a work situation, these days that's like, I don't know, like equal to pedophilia 30 years ago. I shouldn't say that, that's wrong. But yeah, it's such a crime, which just seems insane to me. I mean, if you're trying to manage your staff, in the book, The 1 Minute Manager, which is an iconic book on management, they talk about touching staff. Whereas now it's like, it's just so dangerous. It's like you really are a criminal if you touch a woman in a work situation. So if it's not work and it's a receptionist, again, I don't know if it's a gym you go to regularly or just a gym you're passing by at. They're very different. I think anyone who's watched a few of these, I in whatever 20 years or nearly 20 years at one yoga studio, I never touched a girl there because it was my sacred space for yoga and my health. But other yoga studios, I was a wee bit of a disgrace, particularly one of them in Bondi Beach and one in Bondi Junction. So I would use eye contact with the receptionist, particularly as Tess pointed out across the desk. I would use eye contact before I'd use touch if it's in a professional situation. So I think that answers it. Welcome back, Nolan. I've seen you before. I don't think I've seen you in a while. Next question, I think, Tess.
Yeah. Okay. A question from MJ Hundy. Are you ever nervous around men, Tess? If so, why? Also, would someone proficient in literature be able to ingratiate themselves to you? Curious on your opinion. Yeah, I do get nervous around men for sure. Like if a guy is really confident and he's attractive to me, then yes, women get nervous. I get nervous as well. So why? I think it can just be a natural response that's in the moment. If I'm kind of taken by surprise. If if I'm not taken by surprise by, oh wow, who's this guy, then I would generally be a little bit more prepared and be able to stay grounded if I was attracted to the person. But yeah, so I guess that's the main thing. If I'm kind of caught off guard, that's why I would feel nervous. Yeah, I guess the thing is, yeah, if someone's really impressive to you and there's attraction there, you feel the need to also, you want to be impressive to them as well, right? So that again would add to any nerves potentially. Also, would someone proficient in literature be able to ingratiate themselves to you? I'm not as much of a literature buff as James is, so that is not necessarily like just talking about literature in itself. If that like that wouldn't necessarily be the key to my heart, or but I think talking about different philosophies or values or whatever that they've gained from reading literature and having that as a discussion point, that would be super attractive to me. I like kind of stimulating, intriguing, intellectual conversation. Absolutely, I find that really attractive. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
I know the question was directed at Tess. I might just give you my 2 cents worth. I'll bet you any money on the earth the guy who's read a little literature would be in a situation to connect with Tess vastly better than a similar guy of his height, age, ripped, handsomeness, etc. Equally, I'd guarantee, this is another big tip, I'll guarantee a guy who's done a lot of jiu-jitsu or cage fighting would be a hell of a lot more sexually appealing to Tess than some guy who is the same height, handsomeness, etc., because of his very high testosterone. So fighting sports, I mean, playing NFL or playing Australian football in general, even playing basketball, if it's played in the Jordan era rules, that's going to make you a hell of a lot more masculine than the average guy. So I think a guy who'd read a little literature would be far better equipped to get his way with Tess than a guy who hadn't, even though that might not be one of her big attraction switches at all. Women get so nervous around men, it's not funny. I'm just astounded. When I was at my sort of promiscuous travel days, or when I started having 2-by girlfriends or dating a few models, the number of times I go on dates with girls, models, and like they had sweaty, disgusting palms, because it's one of my big escalation things, trying to hold their hand. I told you a story about a girl I met at a business mastermind. I had to eat in front of her, which I don't usually recommend, but the easiest place for me to talk to her was at dinner because I was so busy, aside from the mastermind. I remember she was so nervous in front of me that I was struggling to digest my food, just because I'd done my social engineering thing to easily become the high value guy in that big group, even though there was 50, 100 guys who are 20 years younger and one hell of a lot more ripped and handsome and muscly than me. And there's a couple of older guys there who are like properly rich, but yeah, she for some reason wanted me, even though she's vastly younger than me. So yeah, women get so nervous. I believe they get more nervous than men. You guys probably can't see that. Again, you've got this red pill or pickup artist example of this sort of hot, youngish, as in still looks like Tess, still hot, girl who's just incredibly confident because she's been kind of blessed by God with maybe a bit of yoga or Pilates and a good diet to maintain it. But yeah, so often these girls are crazy nervous, especially if they meet that one guy in 100, or in some cases one guy in 500 who actually moves the needle for them, if that makes sense. Like the way for those of you who watched the whole thing, thank you. If you've watched everything up till now in the replay, just say watched everything, and I'll personally give you a blowjob if you come. No, probably won't. Probably won't. That would be a really good metric for us. But yeah, for those of you who watched all of it, I told the story about the woman who is very awkward with a client of mine on private training. She's a really smooth woman, but she just got really nervous. I'm attracted to a guy. It's the first time it's happened in 3 years. And that's what it's like for hot girls. It's like, no guy's done this to me in a long, long time. A lot of you guys on YouTube just probably think I'm lying about this stuff, but trust me, it's so true. It's so true. When a woman who can have any guy she wants meets a guy she wants, which is not many, she gets really nervous, like really nervous. Sometimes they fuck everything up. They get so nervous. And the reason they really want that guy, it could be because he's Leonardo DiCaprio, but it's usually because he's a master at social engineering and he can make himself the high value guy in the room, not just run up the street and go, hey, you're really pretty. I thought I'd come say hi. What's your story? Not that that's a complete waste of time, but I don't think it's a way for an older guy to meet the love of their life, even though it might be a good way to get rid of approach anxiety. Next question, please.
Yeah, sure. A question from Duke 888 November. Welcome, Duke. Another new one here. If you're new here, guys, if you've just tuned in, say hi in the chat. We're loving all of the engagement from you guys tonight. Is it practical? Is it practical to develop from meeting women in the daytime, out and about, going about my business, versus night bars or street? Meeting in yoga or gym is a long and very gradual process.
That is an excellent question. Yes, it is practical to develop from me. Oh, so you can meet them in bars. You have some skill in that, and you want to go to the daytime. Okay. I've said even since I started as a dating coach, which is 20 years ago, so I was 35. I've said since I was 35 that going out to bars, let alone nightclubs, is like if I want to play American football or Australian football or rugby or basketball or a game that involves some strength, if I go play Australian football, let alone American football now, at my current build, no matter how skilled I am, I'll get snapped. So if I want to play these sports, I need to actually get some conditioning, which is probably a hell of a lot of push-ups and pull-ups initially, and then actually doing some serious resistance training. Now, I'm not really going to enjoy that resistance training. I can't stand it. It's boring being in a gym. But I love the benefits that resistance training gives me playing basketball or Australian football, two sports I love. One time I remember a guy who I knew well. He was 6'6". I have to do pounds, 230 pounds, probably, maybe 235. And we were both going for the ball and we ran into each other like that. And we really hit each other hard. And he took more time to get up than me, which was like weird because the most I ever was would have been 84. Sorry, I can't do pounds for that. 180 or 80, 84, 85 kilo. I can't times that by 2.2 quick enough in my head at my advanced age and stage in life. And I realized then the reason he was so big and muscly because he'd done steroids, and I had a lot more actual proper conditioning from him from just actual proper weights and sport. So I love this metaphor because no guy, particularly if you're in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, goes out to a bar, a club, to meet the mother of your children, or even a long-term relationship. But the actual process of going to bars, let alone clubs, and actually even talking to girls and holding it for 5 minutes, that's incredible training to make day games so easy. So don't think going to bars is a waste of time. It's not fun. I don't enjoy it. Most of the girls there are useless. I've got ways to find the good ones quickly. The after work crowd can be different. So yeah, night game is a good way to sort of lift weights to get really good at American football or Australian football or basketball or rugby, whatever it is. So yeah, it is good. The thing is, meeting women in bars takes very little skill. Like meeting women in bars, we can train you that in one day to get really good at it, particularly with what Tess does for you before the live event. Meeting women during the day, that takes a hell of a lot more skill, a hell of a lot more skill. And there's a hell of a lot more risk, particularly if you're 40s, 50s, 60s, approaching any girls, particularly younger girls. You've got to be really well dressed. You've got to have really high social intelligence. You've got to be very, very careful. There's guys who've literally gone down to the police station because of awkward approaches. And I believe there's a guy in Glasgow who was in jail, Glasgow, Scotland. So it does take a lot more skill, but at the same time, it's so much more profitable meeting girls during the daytime because you just get better quality girls. And also, if you can start to laser focus according to your hobbies and interests, which I'm crazy about. It's my favorite thing, meeting girls where you personally want to meet them. So finding where the girls who might be a serious girlfriend for you are likely to be hanging out and figuring out how to meet them there. Any of you have come to a few of these. I talk about bookstores, bookstore cafes, anything related to independent travel. A distant third or fourth would be something to do with meditation or yoga. That's where I've had all the great women of my life, literally all of them. I met one girl in a bar who we talked about books half the time or 3/4 of the time. I met her in a bar, who became one of the great women of my life, but she wasn't dateable as much as I wanted to because she ticked every conceivable box a man like me could have. So yeah, meeting in yoga or the gym, again, you're going to have, particularly in yoga, I think you're going to have higher quality girls. But meeting in yoga or gym is not a very gradual process. Once you have the skills, it's actually astoundingly easy. I don't know of many places better and easier to meet girls than in yoga. Showing off a bit, I took my 2 girlfriends to my favorite yoga studio, and they come out the class because I was driving them home, and they were giggling their ass off. And they go, "What are you laughing at?" And I can't remember the exact words, but they're going, "Oh, there was a bunch of girls talking about how you were one of the hottest guys in the class." And obviously they slept with me that day or the day before, so they thought it was hilarious. But the funny thing about that was I wasn't one of the most attractive guys in that class. There was a bunch of guys in those baggy tie kickboxing shorts with bodies like you can't believe, and these incredible jawlines and these incredible physiques who just reeked of testosterone, who couldn't do any of the yoga poses because they were too tight from all their Muay Thai and weightlifting and stuff. Whereas I was in the front, skinny ass guy, hadn't touched a weight since the Clinton presidency, hadn't been in a gym since the Clinton presidency. And they all wanted me because I was up the front. I was very keen on yoga. I knew the receptionist. I knew the teachers very well, which I thought was hilarious. So yeah, meeting women in the yoga or a gym or a bookstore, if that's your thing, or a record store, or walking the dog at the beach, or whatever thing you're into, or a running club, I don't know, insert your own hobby or interest or make up your own, is actually really, really easy when you know what you're doing. But if you've done some time in bars, some time in general day game, then meeting them in the yoga or the gym or connected to your favorite hobbies or interests, which is by far and away the most efficient way to do this, is unreal, and it is very easy and it's very simple. I'm not going to count, but I've gone into yoga studios for the first time and met girls I slept with more than once, more than twice, more than 3 times. I can't think of more than 3. Anyway, let's go. Sorry, Tess. Next question, please.
That's
Put
okay.
on your horse. Giddy up. Where's the next question? Giddy up.
Okay.
Sorry, Tess.
No, it's okay. The question from DJ Hellsfire, which relates to this one, he says, "That's why I asked what you should do if you see a girl in public. You clearly get the look, even a look back. What would you do, James?"
I need more detail to answer this, because if it's a busy central business district and she walks past you and you clearly get a look, that's a lot more difficult than if you're sitting in a cafe and you're both working on your computer or reading a book or eating food and you both get a look. So one's obviously a lot easier, a lot less bold. That's a great question. I'll answer. If it's a cafe and a girl looks at me, what I would we go through this on my bootcamp in detail because it involves a lot of social intelligence. If I'm sitting in a cafe and I can see a girl looking at me, what I'd do is I'd probably just look and acknowledge her, and I'd hold her eye contact strongly, not strongly, but confidently. And what will happen is the girl will usually look away because very few girls are strong enough to hold a confident man's eye contact. But say I get 3 or 4 seconds eye contact, I might just look at her. I've got one of the world's worst smiles. So it's such an awful childhood. I've bit my teeth down. Feel that? It's because I've had so much stress in my life. I've basically grinded my teeth away, and I've got an overbite. I have a big nose, so I've got a really crappy smile. Like, it's awful. It's terrible. And my smile, you can't see now, I'm not going to sit and smile. My smile goes the wrong way. It's really crooked. So I ain't no male model. So my smile's crap. And also, when I smile, I give away my age because the skin around my eyes are much more affected by wrinkles because it's much thinner than the skin on my forehead. Anyway, more information you needed, but some useful tidbits in there. So what I usually do in a cafe is if she does look at me, I would just hold her eye contact. To most of you guys watching, I would say just give a little half smile, because my childhood was so miserable. I actually don't smile much. I'm not a very good smiler. So I don't smile. I've actually learned to do the intensity. I'm going to fry your brains and your little clitoris thing if I ever get you in bed, which I highly recommend. I do that when I want to pick up girls, which I think I do quite well. But what most of you guys should do, I do the intense thing. What most of you guys should do is just hold her eye contact, and maybe after 2 or 3 seconds, just give her a pleasant smile, not like full tilt. Oh, pretty girl's looking at me. Yeah, I might get in here. Just a little friendly smile. The same smile you'd give like the 77-year-old guy. You'd give an overweight woman, or maybe just the same smile you'd give them. And then what you've really got to do from there is watch. What you're going to do from there is watch. I worked in a library today, and there was a girl who intentionally sat down across the table from me. I'm 30 years older than most of the people there. There was some girls in their 30s, but a lot older. But I was quite nicely dressed, basically what I'm wearing now, and I had a nice winter jacket. So a girl who's probably mid-20s or late 20s, she came and sat down with awkward positioning beside me. And then what I did was, this is how desperate women are in the current age. A woman sits and holds the eye contact of a guy who's clearly 25 or 30 years older than her, with a bunch of grey in his beard, and underneath the beard and a tiny bit in the sides, probably not much in the sides. And then what I did was I just looked at her, and I gave her just a little tiny smile, and then she looked away. And then I think these stories are so valuable for you. And then she had a jacket on that was furry, and it was probably like 12 or 13 degrees. I don't do centigrade. I can do pounds, but I can't do Fahrenheit. Sorry, America. I apologize. I don't know what 13 degrees is in Celsius. Could someone tell me in the comments, please? Any of you good Americans watching from the greatest country in the world? Tess, can you translate with Grok or Claude or whatever you use? ChatGTP died, I think. So I don't know what it is. I know what hot is, but I don't know what cold is. So
55 Fahrenheit.
So it's 55 degrees Fahrenheit, and every other girl in there has got some big winter jacket, or at very least a thick hoodie. And this girl decides to take off her super warm, sort of furry, boho, beautiful coat, and show me a really good set of boobies and a bunch of bare shoulder. If a girl wears that to a library to study on a Sunday, she's probably single, and she probably wouldn't mind some company tonight if you're confident enough. And then I'm too busy. I was preparing for this, and I'm not staying in this location for much longer. I'll be somewhere else. She was attractive. I'd definitely slip at one. And then I probably looked at her again, because all the yoga poses she was doing was very distracting, particularly when she had a good set of at least D's, and there was a bunch of shoulder. The other reading signals. She has just kept touching her. Can you take the comment down for a sec, Tess?
Yes.
she kept, oh, sorry, and the other one, she kept touching her and she kept rubbing there the whole time while I'm trying to prepare this YouTube live masterclass to change your life. She kept distracting me with big boobies and bare flesh on her belly and bare flesh on her shoulder, even though it's, what was it, 50 degrees. Crazy woman. And she looked like a Swedish girl who's used to being pretty much topless in 50 degrees. She looked like an Aussie or something. So if you could put the question up. So what happened was, I wasn't paying any attention. I was stressing out doing a good job for you guys. Is I walked out. She left a bit before me, and she made a big song and dance about putting her jacket on in a seductive way. Again, because I'm really good at reading signals, I could see all this out the corner of my eye. This is what you guys need to start learning. Again, if you work with Tess, it's the second thing she teaches you. Conversation starters, opening. And the next thing is, it depends on the student. It's either reading signals or style will be the way we progress. Because there's so many opportunities no guys see. So then I walk out and I'm racing home, and I ordered an Uber. Then the Uber cancelled on me because I took too long packing up. So I'm stressed out. I want to have a little bit of broccoli before I go live on YouTube, which I just managed to slip in. And then she's literally sitting out. I walk out the library and she's sitting out. Again, it's very cold. She's sitting out on a stool out there, just waiting. And then when I come, she looks up and looks at me in the eye, and she was twirling her foot like that. She's twirling her ankle around like that. So I'm like, this girl wants me to approach her, but I'm going to be late for my YouTube live. So I'm going away for a few days, and I'm working somewhere else for a little while. So yeah, this shit, if you guys dress like Tess tells you, and you're not like absolutely Quasimodo wretched, this shit happens to you quite a bit, as Tess said at the opening. And in the 2020s, post the technological revolution and COVID, where everyone's social skills got added, the lockdowns, and a whole bunch of guys checking out of dating altogether because of Me Too and the red pill convincing you every woman's a complete psychopath, and only wants Leonardo DiCaprio or Elon Musk. She's not interested in any other guy on earth. Oh, except for LeBron James. It's just like women are so freaking desperate. If you can start to see these signals and dress okay, it's really like all your Christmases have come at once. So what I should have done is, I should just talk to her at the table. I was going to do it, but I was too busy. I'll give you some openers I use. I literally don't like cell phones. Whenever I've got my cell phone, I did the American on that. I didn't call it a mobile. I called it a cell phone. So I've lived in America for a while. So if I would rarely have my cell phone in the same room as me, but if I do, it's like 10 feet away or 8 feet away. I don't like it near me. I really don't like it near me. I never use it like that. I haven't done for 20 or 30 years. So one way I've picked up girls, I can't say I got sex out of it, but I got dates with it, is I said, oh, sorry to bother you. Would you mind just moving your cell phone to the other side? I'm kind of allergic to it. I'm a bit of a weirdo. I literally say that. Most guys shouldn't unless you're really confident. I'm a bit peculiar or something. There's so many other things you can do. With this girl, I actually thought it through because I'm a professional dating coach. She had this really cool outfit where she had this sort of white top and she had this fluffy jacket. She was sort of a cool, hippie, arty girl. I could have easily opened her with, oh, wow, I would rarely talk about a girl's style because she thinks, he likes my body. He just wants to fuck me. But with this girl, she generally had a really cool sort of alternate arty look. I said, oh, wow, that's a really nice jacket. An ex-girlfriend of mine was really into boho beautiful, whatever that means. I know what I just said. Tell me about are you boho beautiful? That's closed-ended, so I would say don't do that. Tell me, is that boho beautiful, or tell me about your look? I would have done something like that. I'd be much more smooth in the moment, not sort of make it up on YouTube live. What else can I do? It's a library. What are you studying? What are you working on? One time I asked a girl who was reading on her phone, I didn't think of the right opener. I just asked her on a phone. Oh, so what are you reading? She's looking at a phone, not a book. My usual opener didn't work, but I still got a date with her. So yeah, there's so many things you can do. And again, that's what Tess works with you at. She teaches you how to meet guys, girls in situations where there's what we call a implied acceptance of socialization, like a bar or a local gym that's really social, or maybe a business conference or some sort of a networking function. And then once you get that, she starts to help you meet girls in much more difficult places like cafes, random day game, maybe walking your dog on the beach. I mean, there was another girl I met when she was walking her dog on the beach last night. If there's time permits, I'll tell you the story. And she was crazy interested. I was on the phone to a close friend, but when she walked in front of me because I was talking on the phone, and her hips went whoop. She did that model on the catwalk thing where her hips just sway back and forth like that, emphasizing her fertility of her hip to waist ratio and her wider hips, thinner waist, and big boobies. And she had some big boobies. I seem to be meeting lots of big booby girls in the last 48 hours for some reason, 24 hours. Tess, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think if a woman's giving you a clear signal, like she's looking at you, she's even doing a double take, etc., in a public place, that's a really great signal. It's great that you're able to pick up on that, and yeah, I think that you should be initiating on that sort of thing. Again, James talked about an implied socialization setting as opposed to a non-implied socialization setting where the approach is different. Yeah, obviously, where there is implied socialization, like if this is at a bar or a singles meetup, heavily implied, obviously, or just like an event, that sort of thing, networking event or wedding, etc. Those are all like quite heavily implied socialization settings. Then to just be really direct and say, hey, I'm James, what's your name? Or hey, I'm DJ Hellsfire, or whatever your name is. That's definitely the most confident way to do it. And it's especially when there's been some level of eye contact there as well. If you do that skillfully using a pause, etc., you can build sexual tension straight away. Now, if the setting, the non-implied social setting, like a cafe or just on the street, etc., again, that's a little bit harder. And if there has been a really clear signal, some guys do like to just be really direct, and because it shows your intention really strongly. So you can use that to your advantage if there's like lingering eye contact and you're really spontaneous about it. But otherwise, if that hasn't been really strong, then we definitely suggest using something that's a little bit more general, like using something in the environment, etc., that to point out something that's observable or relatable, which means she's going to have less of a barrier to just talking to you. But yeah, I won't go into too much of the detail here because this is really what we get into in the coaching. And yeah, the non-implied social setting is definitely a more advanced skill. So yeah, it's really about, I mean, practice helps because you're able to be creative in the moment and use what's around you, but you really have to have that skill of maybe having some go-tos, but also being able to look around, like what's going to be an easy talking point right now, just to break the ice, and then you just move on from there. But yeah, there is a bit of a structure to it. I won't go into the whole thing. I'm going to take too much time, but I hope that helps to begin with. And yeah, if you'd like to know more, you're welcome to sign up with me as well, and I can help you with that. Next question, Jay?
DJ Hellfire said something nice, and I'm pretty sure this dude is gay. Anyway, that's a nice little sweet comment. Probably the most famous dating coach, pickup artist of them all, the world's greatest pickup artist. There's one other very famous dating coach who will talk for hours about how he's absolutely certain he's gay, and by being this famous dating coach is him trying to hide and just trying to stay in the closet. So that's just a hearsay conspiracy theory, but the guy is very passionate about it. So having grown up in Perth, Western Australia, which my joke was when I grew up there, it was the second most homophobic place in the earth after Saudi Arabia. About 10 years later, it dropped down the list and it was third to Iran. But yeah, having grown up, I'm just not. I'm just not. I've seen some Pedro Almodovar movies with some gay porn in there, and it wasn't particularly pleasant for me, to put it very mildly. It was not, particularly when the guys with the beard start. No, thank you. I hope that's not bad today's world. I've had friends who are gay. I acted with a guy who was gay, who was an amazing actor. I'm a bit of a Freddie Mercury fan, like many of you guys. At least I was in my younger days. But yeah, not looking to stick my what's it in any of their holes. I can assure you of that. But anyway, thanks for your kind words.
Welcome, Justin. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. Say hi.
What makes you think I'm gay? Is it because I'm tall and I look neat? I'm not neat. Is it because I'm tall and neat and well presented, like Jerry Seinfeld says, and skinny? What was I say? I've never understood homophobia. It's like the dumbest fucking thing in the world. Why would a straight man get upset about gay men? If they're having sex in front of them, or maybe even kissing in front of them, maybe. But why would you get upset about gay men? It's just less competition for me. And a lot of the gay men look really good. They're very well presented and they're very smooth and they talk nicely. And all these girls go, oh, he's so hot and nice and charming, and he doesn't like girls. So it just makes women more and more desperate. I want as many tall, handsome, charming, well-presented gay guys as possible, because then the women just get more and more, one day I'll find a guy who's straight. And if you can dress like you're a gay guy without being flamboyant, like maybe I do, which is why Justin thought I was gay, you can get a long way, just like my examples of some girl who's probably 30 years younger than me going to a hell of a lot of trouble to get me to talk to her today with very big whoobies. Anyway, next comment, please. Question.
Okay. A question from Almost 007. Welcome back. James, how do you handle any last minute resistance?
Are you trying to get me in trouble? Well, that's a tough one to teach now. I can't really say the way I'd like to, because my answer would assume you have some competence in reading signals, which completely and utterly changes the game. And most men cannot read signals, and guys who think they can read signals cannot read signals. I rarely, if ever, meet a guy who can read signals. My friend, who was a dating coach for two of the most famous coaches, he can't read signals very well at all. He's slightly better than the average guy. I can tell by looking at content of various dating coaches that they can't read signals very well. Otherwise, they'd teach very, very different strategies. So if you can read signals, then you can overcome last minute resistance with a lot of information to judge your next move, so that you don't put the woman in a situation where she's uncomfortable, but at the same time you advance your agenda. It's not just advance your agenda, you make her more and more gaga for you. I think one of the reasons that, maybe not so much now, but when I was promiscuous, I was extremely good at overcoming last minute resistance. And there's been 2 times in my life. I remember one was an opera singer in Boston, again with big boobs. I'm in the big boobs stories tonight. I'm not necessarily a big boobs guy. I'm a tall, certain build, highly intelligent. Big boobs are just like a little sort of optional extra for me. But I'm telling lots of big boob stories for some reason. Anyway, an opera singer, redhead with big boobs, was batshit crazy. I was very forthright about overcoming last-minute resistance, which I was able to do because I was so good at reading her signals, and I was so good at the conversation and connection leading up to it. And this was a battle royale for about maybe 2 hours, where I got her naked apart from her panties very quickly, because a lot of women who might be a bit more sort of easygoing, they're happy to strip down their panties and just have foreplay galore for hours on end, but they might not necessarily want to let the guy stick it in there, because that's sort of making out with the guy and having him lick her tits and all that for hours is a very different thing to many women to having sex. Tess, you may want to explain that. I don't know if you're one of those girls, you probably aren't, but you might want to explain that from the female point of view. Because I was so good at reading signals and I persisted and I have a huge amount of energy, she eventually, I tell a lie. I had to fight like crazy to get her bra off, despite the fact she had great tits, which didn't make much sense to me. When I say fight, it wasn't crossing any lines. It was just like, it was like a play. Again, this is not for people on YouTube at all. So what happened was, when I got it off, I got it and I stood up on my knees and I threw it on top of this cupboard. She had like a closet. It was like a student apartment. And because I used to be a pretty high level, certainly a very high level junior cricketer, cricket's like Australian baseball. I've got a really good throw, and I threw it directly on top, and it somehow landed on top of this small cupboard from, I don't even know, 10, 12 feet away. And then she looks up, she looks at the bra fly, and she goes, "You're so good at this, aren't you?" And then she grabs my head like that, and she kisses me. And anyway, the panties came off effortlessly. So yeah, I mean, just get really fucking good at reading signals before you do a single thing, especially if you've got a decent job or you've got some money or you own a house or you're tall and good looking, because overcoming last minute resistance is something that can land you at the police station, in jail in today's world, if it's not handled very, very carefully. And unfortunately, the irony is women judge you by how well you break through their resistance, because the guys who've had experience with women before can do it very smoothly. They can do it without ever crossing that line where you make the girl uncomfortable, and they can do it well, whereas most guys can't do that, which is why if you can do it, women get seriously attracted to you. Oh my God, no guy's ever swapped me off my feet like that before. So yeah, how do you handle last minute resistance? Read signals like a motherfucker, and they get really good at understanding her erogenous zones that aren't, what's between her legs, and get really good at getting her very aroused, and be really healthy, have lots of energy. Tess, do you understand the term last minute resistance? It's pretty obvious, but it's a pickup artist term.
I wasn't aware it was a pickup artist term. It seems pretty straightforward to me.
I thought so. Well, they claim it is. It probably is.
Yeah, so I guess, again, this is like a little bit controversial, because obviously consent is really, really important, guys. And yeah, like technically, like a woman can change her mind at any stage. So like, be really careful with this if it's a new sexual partner, if there's any alcohol involved. Like, yeah, you have to be aware of these things. Consent's really important. But last minute resistance can also be something that women do to make it more sexy. Okay, women will say like, "Oh no," or like try to create resistance, because like some of that, trying to be more sensual with her, or more touch, etc. That all adds to the foreplay. And so in James's example, where he said, it's clear that she's like really into him, and there's like some last minute resistance there with the bra, etc. But as soon as he removed it, she like pounced on him. That's a quite clear indication that she was James could tell that she really wanted it, right? And so that's why he persisted. And she, it's a clear indication again that she like pounced on him after he removed the bra, that is what she wanted, and that was part of her arousal story. So remember, women, like their arousal is a lot more context-based, like story-based, etc. So and it's not just about the act of penetration that's getting her excited. It's the whole lead up to that and the whole story around it as well. And so a bit of last minute resistance might be a part of that. It's like her wanting you to work for it a little bit to create that allure. It makes her feel more sexy, etc. So yeah, how do you handle that? I think James covered that pretty well. But yeah, again, I think we just have to you have to be quite sure about the consent is the main issue. Yeah.
I need to add some more to that. Tess has covered some good points. Check AI or check with whatever is in your city, but the world's become so crazy in my view that you need to get a clear verbal assent from the woman before you can stick it in there, which every girl I've talked to says that's like the most unsexy thing in the whole world. But if you're not, even if you are exceptional at reading signals, you probably want to be doing that. You want to be doing that in today's world. So what did I use last time? I can't honestly remember. I'm not going to make it up. I just came up with some corny line for "Do you want to have sex? You ready for sexy wexy time?" What did I say? I just said something throwaway, and she's like, "Yeah." And it was so awful. It was such a it reduced her attraction to me and her love of the moment considerably. But that's what you need to do post this, in my view, crazy legislation that's taken root, certainly in Australia and America and probably everywhere. The other thing, you need to be very careful. You need to be very fucking careful. If you have a good job, if you have a business, if you have any sort of a profile, if you're any sort of a high value guy, you literally cannot proceed to, I'm not saying you cannot, you are running grave danger if you proceed to sex. If she's had one drink, I mean one drink. Look at the legislation. It's called Yes Means Yes legislation in your home state or city, or I think it's state-based legislation. I'm no expert. Yeah, it's got so crazy that if she's had one drink, she's forfeited. A woman who's had one drink, even if she can drink, a bottle of vodka and drive, which I don't think many women can do that, but even if she can, she has forfeited her ability to even give consent. So she can give consent verbally after one drink. I'm scaring the shit out of guys, but you need to know this stuff. So just do research on what the environment is for you guys. But the number one rule is you've got to be able to read signals, because if you can't, you're in grave danger. You're really in grave danger, particularly if you've got some money or a house or any sort of status. Yeah, don't attack the message. I should have just said I'm not answering this question. It's too difficult. But yeah, you've just got to be so careful with this stuff. It's one of the reasons why my promiscuity has dropped quite a bit, because I've got to really want a girl if I'm doing it in Australia, and I believe certainly California, New York, probably, I don't know what Texas is, because I've got to really want a girl in order to even have sex with her. So, yeah, there's obviously cases where women are savagely abused by men and raped. But I think they've widened that umbrella to include things that are, kind of trivial compared to some guy just grabbing her, putting a knife on her throat and overpowering her. I know women, a model who dated a friend of mine, she'd literally been packed raped by a bunch of men And because they were from a private school, the police didn't investigate. And then the same thing happened to her little sister a few years later, and there was never anything done about it. And to conflate that with some guy who can't quite read signals on a date, who made her feel a tiny bit uncomfortable for a second, and suddenly there was no penetration, there's no nothing, and suddenly this guy's in the same group of people as people do home invasion rapes. I mean, I just don't understand what's going on in the world now. Looks like they want to divide and conquer men and women as much as possible. Tess, did you want to add anything to that? It's basically be careful, takeaway number one. Learn to read signals. You have to do that, because if not, last minute resistance, and you need to get verbal assent as well. What might have happened 10 years ago, let alone 30 years ago, if you do that today, which many people still are, you're running grave risks.
Yeah, guys, I guess like just proceed with caution if it's a new sexual partner and you haven't established trust or whatever. But yeah, again, like I feel like this one's like pretty obvious, if she's kind of go like, oh no, it's a lot different to like, no, stop, yeah, if it's kind of like, no, just, you can ask like reaffirming questions as well, like, oh, how does this feel? Do you like that? That sort of thing. If she's like responding well to that, making pleasure noises, etc., it probably means you're all good.
Yeah. Tess has come up with a great idea. If you just go, if you just do what we teach our clients, harder, softer, faster, slower, higher, lower. And then she gives you verbal feedback on that. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm certainly not a rape case lawyer, but that probably is some sort of consent. I don't know. Any lawyers watching, give me their 2 cents worth. Basically, the takeaway is whatever you could do 10, 20, 30 years ago, the game has completely changed, and you've got to be very careful. And this is such a sad way to talk. This is such a sad subject to talk about in a YouTube live, because it really is, in my view, doing a huge amount of damage to women. I mean, there's women who clearly wanted me, in my view, that I just said, no, I'm not even bothering asking you out on a date, because I don't want you that much. I don't want you that much that I'm prepared to go through all the hassle and have to get verbal assent. And yeah, it's just too much hassle. It's I think this is probably, for the women as a whole, I think this is worse for women than it is. I think it's terrible for women. Although there is going to be some women it does protect. There's no doubt about that. Anyway, let's move along before I have to fucking edit stuff out.
Okay, so
almost 007 usually asks good questions. I don't like that question. We can't talk about that publicly with any degree of common sense. Otherwise, we will just be put in the wrong basket.
Okay, interesting, controversial.
Just quickly, yeah. Peter had a follow-on. This is a huge thing where a lot of high-value guys actually get a cell phone camera and say, I'm sorry, this is what I would say. This is the least romantic thing I've done in my life. But yeah, I'm just terrified. I had a toxic ex-girlfriend. She did this, she did that. Could you please just look in the camera? And I mean, guys do this all the time and just say, yeah, I consent to having sexual intercourse with you. I mean, if that's not going to dry a woman's bits up, I don't know what will. I mean, I think you could do a pretty serious ripper fart in bed when she's naked, and it wouldn't be as bad as asking her to record a fucking video. Tess, what's worse, a ripper fart in bed just before penetration? Oh, sorry, Tess, but my legal advisors asked me to get you on film when you're topless, just to confirm that it's okay to proceed with our contract of sexual engagement. I know it's a drama, but yeah, I just really need it. Otherwise, we can't proceed with this contract. Just a quick, which is more sexy, or the video with the legal contract?
I think okay, if she's already if there's already been some foreplay and things are heated and it's like she wants you inside her, and you say, can you just quickly say, I want this, in whatever words, and you film it and say, sorry to to keep you waiting. But yes, I need this. I need you to say yes, and you kind of make it sexy and fun and whatever. Then that is definitely better than the fart. Like the fart's really gross. I'm not gonna lie, that's really gross. It's like it's pretty gross. Yeah, it's a bit like awkward as well if she doesn't know you really that well. It takes a while before people are comfortable farting in front of each other, I think. But
I make those moves pretty quickly, but I'm really healthy, so I'm not saying my farts don't stink, but it's probably not the typical fucking eat this like gigantic steak and a bunch of chips fart. So without giving you more information I need, we also teach a course in health, which guys love. I'm 55. And yeah, I've had feedback about the taste of certain bits of my anatomy and how, oh my God, you taste so good. And I think that's another benefit of eating lots of veggies and maybe doing a bit of yoga to detox everything, and regular sauna use. So anyway, how we got onto like fart smells depending on diets is beyond me, but hopefully we're entertaining at least someone. So yeah, the other thing, it might be enough if you get an audio. Maybe you just need to film it, which would make it much easier. Anyway, I ask you, Tess and I are not legal advisors, and you should seek independent legal advice. We should really move on and talk about something else. I've had enough of these consent questions. Blame the people who came up with this silly legislation. No, it's not silly. It's I think they could have done a much better job. They should be teaching little boys in school social coach reading signals curriculum. That's what they should be doing. Because what they don't realize is women think a guy was whatever. What's the word? Women think a guy was pushy or disrespectful to her, whereas the guy's just fucking stupid. We're stupid at this stuff. So the guy might not have any ill intention at all. He might be crazy about the girl with the best intentions, but he doesn't know what he's doing because they don't teach social coach dating techniques at school. That's the second most common thing we hear when we after our boot camp. First is, I wish I did this when I was 18 or 21 or 30. Next thing is, why don't they teach us in school? It's fucking madness. It's more important than anything I learned in school. We've heard that regularly. So, yeah, anyway, I think we should stay away from answering these in public because it's very problematic. Basically, what you could do 10 years ago, you cannot do anymore. You just cannot do it anymore. What you could do 30 years ago is like back in the Stone Age compared to today. Again, it's one of the selling points of Social Coach. We can help you make it through these situations smoothly without finding yourself in a place you really, really don't want to be. And check whatever the laws are in your local area because they could differ. And Tess and I do not give legal advice at all. We don't even give very limited dating advice on this subject because we need to understand you, how many women you've had, what was the situation with you and the girl, how quickly, definitely no alcohol involved. Sorry to be such a party pooper. Anyway, let's move right along.
Yeah, obviously, it depends on who you are as well. Like if you're someone who feels the need to have to protect themselves a lot, then yeah, I mean, having recording consent might be a good thing for you. But I think for like an average guy and an average woman, if you're able to just read her signals, and there's I think most people are still able to just, understand whether the woman actually wants it or not. So
they're not. Sorry, Tess, they're not. They're just not.
Guys, okay.
Guys are very, very bad at this. We're very, very bad. And there's so many women who might really like you, but they're not quite ready for it. So it's such a gray area. There's so much ambiguity around it. And we've probably gone from a system that was far too whatever. It was probably didn't give enough women enough protection, certainly back when I was a boy, to a system that's probably given women so much protection it's scaring men away. But anyway, this isn't a philosophy class. It's a practical step-by-step how to get the women of your dreams class and have a bit of fun along the way. So yeah, we're probably out of our depth talking about this subject as much. Sorry to cut you off straight away, but one of the things I constantly need to emphasize to women about men is we're really fucking stupid.
Yeah.
This stuff. We might be able to build Tesla and Facebook and Microsoft and Standard Oil and whatever, and News Corp, but we can't do this stuff very well. But there are few of us who can have a really easy time. Anyway, let's go. Not sure if it's a dumb question, but do you need to record a woman giving consent for legal reasons? Just ask AI. We do not have the expertise. I have a vague awareness of legislation in Sydney from 4 or 5 years ago, and I know it was similar or worse in the blue states, certainly New York, LA. That's about all I know. I think it was similar throughout Australia.
Okay, so let's move on to another question.
I might just say one thing. Any sort of actual rape of a woman is like one of the most serious crimes ever. And the reason it is because you are taking away a woman's ability to control her pregnancy. That is being deprived of her, which is one of the most grotesque things you can do to another human being. Obviously, we've got contraception and abortion now, but women have... Tess, is it possible? How do you explain the degree of assault, the degree of hurt for a woman if she feels like she's losing control of that? It's all very well for us rational guys to say, yeah, but she used to have an abortion. But it's the most hideous, it's one of the more hideous crimes because of what you're at, the position you're actually putting a woman in. The fear when a woman prior to just a few hundred years ago could be forced to carry a child to term and obviously have her value to other men plummet and have to somehow survive that pregnancy and have to take care of the kid herself. It's a horrible violation against a human being. Probably it's like torture or potentially worse because you're seriously threatening her existence by the crime of rape. But as I've said in other instances, the brain chemistry of the human doesn't change just because we had some different morals in the last 20 or 30 years. It's wired in, and much of it's still tailored for the African savannah. So can you just, are you capable of explaining how horrible that, even just having much smaller stuff like being sexually violated in a much lesser way, how horrible it is for a woman? Can you articulate that so that guys actually understand?
Yeah, I guess like obviously because of contraception, etc. Like women, it might not be at the forefront, like the pregnancy factor, the risk, etc. It might not be the forefront of her conscious mind for why it's such a violation. But I 100% agree in terms of like evolutionary psychology, why that is much more on a subconscious level, like a huge violation. Yeah, the thing is, women, yeah, we inherently have a lot more risk associated with having sex compared to men because we carry children, we carry babies. So yeah, and if we were to fall pregnant, from a non-consensual intercourse, and then have to deal with the aftermath of that, that's horrendous. Like, women have free choice to have terminations of pregnancies, abortions, but it's like the hormones that you go through during pregnancy and having to make that choice about like going through with that procedure is not something that weighs easy on women. Like it's horrendous. Like even if it was non-consensual. So yeah, all of these things, it's not like it's at the forefront when she's saying, no, I don't, I'm not keen on this, you're not consenting. But Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge thing. I think also the thing is that like sensuality is something that's really, really important to women in general. Like we love feeling sensual, and expressing sensuality, and a lot of the time that really intermingles with sexuality, right? And intimacy in relationships and in sex. So for us to be violated in that regard is really damaging to us, because it's not just it's damaging in to like a vital thing that's really important to us in terms of like femininity. It's that's why it can be so traumatizing. Like if a woman's sexually assaulted or you're like raped, that they can't feel good about, it's hard for them to feel good and confident about something that's so core to their femininity, their sensuality, if that line has been crossed. That's why it can be so traumatic. So yeah, more than just the more subconscious level of bearing children, it's about that relationship to her own sensuality that's really damaged. Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's get to the.
Okay.
Final one. This is a big one in the big cities. Where do you live? Thanks, Tess. Where do you live? A lot of guys will get really shitty. I'll talk about Sydney, but this could be New York as well. Girls who live in Manhattan, they don't want to date guys outside of Manhattan. You could have a guy in Manhattan renting some shitty apartment, is roach infested, or sharing with a bunch of other dudes who she'd rather date him than a guy who owns some gigantic house, 2 hours drive out of Manhattan. Equally, in the eastern suburbs of Sydney, a lot of women who live in the eastern suburbs, which is like the wealthy bit, they only want to date guys in the eastern suburbs, not a guys say gold digger, user, why don't you give me a chance? In part, it's because there's such a huge commute between, 2 hours out of Manhattan and actual the city. I'm just using Manhattan because it's a city everyone knows at least reasonably well. So a lot of guys hear, where do you live? And they think, oh, gold digger, or she doesn't want me. And there may be some element of that for sure. But so often it's just, is it practical to have a relationship with you? So, but yeah, if a girl gets to the point where she's asking, where do you live? That's a really good sign. She's starting to get important logistical information about you. And if you think about girls, they're completely different to us. Us guys have a checklist I talked about earlier. Physically attractive, not a bitch. What else do we need? Will have sex with me regularly. Something in common, not a bitch. Maybe cooks. But what else do we need? Is there anything? Guys, what am I missing? I mean, when you get some success with women, you start to get more picky. I'm all this, I want girls who are really smart. But we don't need much. Because women have a checklist like, Jesus Christ, man. It's like you're trying to put up some huge building in the city, or it's like Elon Musk SpaceX checklist to send some huge rocket into space. There's so much women need in a guy. It's like, ugh. So where do you live is one of the highest things on their checklist. So if a girl's asking you, where do you live? It's a huge sign that she's interested in you. Like when you hear, where do you live? You could do the subtitles. Keep going like this and I'll give you a blowjob. That could be the same as where you live, because if where you live is a sign of interest, and if she likes you, eventually you're probably going to get a blowjob. Sorry for doing that in crude terms, Tess, but yeah, it's a sign of interest in so many cases. Not saying 100%, but so many. Tess, did you want to add anything to my unfortunate reference there?
No, I think, yeah, obviously this is a logistical one. If she's trying to figure out, hey, like, is it going to be convenient for me to be dating you? That's a good sign. So yeah, where do you live is, again, it also says a little bit about your lifestyle, etc. as well. So it's, yeah, she's trying to get to know you. She's trying to get to know whether you're going to be compatible for her. So yeah, a really simple question. Could be a lot more to it there. She's trying to get to know more.
Fantastic. Next, okay. Tess, do you want to run through the points and to trigger questions about our points tonight? So, older men don't realize women ask these questions to. Wait. We'll do this all properly. We'll do a fancy job. Oh, I forgot to do that. He's screwed up. Okay, Mr. Tech Imbecile. It's because we got the. No, don't worry. This is not going to work. Anyway, we're not AI. AI would never fuck something up that bad.
Okay, so
maybe ChatGTP would, but not Grok or Claude or Perplexity or whatever other one. That would be a ChatGTP AI. Can't even get the fucking tech right. Sorry about all these Sam Altman jokes. He's not the world's most popular character.
So these are some. Do you want me to run through them, James?
Yeah, please.
Here's some questions that women could be asking you when they're showing interest that you may not have picked up on and that could potentially be happening to you very often. So our number one is, so how old are you really? Yes. So that's obviously, yeah, she's trying to figure out, this is a bit of a test, how you're going to react to that. And it may not really actually be about the number. It's about how confident you are in owning that. And that's basically it. Number two is, so why are you still single? This has to do with wanting to understand your dating history, how experienced you are with women. And yeah, clearly showing that she has some interest in understanding that. So that's quite a clear signal. Number three is, so what do you do? In that sort of flirty, a flirty sort of tone. Again, this is a really simple question. You might think is just conversation, but she's trying to understand what you've dedicated your life to, like what's important to you, how do you spend your time making money, lifestyle, all of this stuff is really important for her to figure out in a subtle way, like, are you ticking some of my boxes? And it's not necessarily just about money. This is about, what are your skills? What kind of women do you usually date? This is her trying to figure out, am I going to be ticking some of your boxes? But also plays into some of the relationship history stuff as well that I talked about. Number five is, did you hear about the new movie, play, cafe, etc.? So here, this one, not just, simple conversation. She's actually giving you hints for what she might want you to do with her on a date, potentially. Also, like to gauge, your interest level in potentially some of her interests as well. But yeah, this is a really easy in to get to asking her on a date if she's giving you the suggestions. Number six is, what do you do for fun? Again, yeah, very simple question, but this is really about your hobbies, your interests, and how that plays in with what she's looking for. And number seven is, are you this charming with all the girls? She's trying to figure out, are you just really charismatic because I feel like you are, or am I special? So that's a really obvious one. And number eight, like we said, where do you live? A little bit more logistical, but also just trying to figure out, is this going to work for me long term? Are you going to fit well into my, is dating you going to be feasible?
Thanks, Tess. So any questions on any of that stuff? You've probably got us for another 20 minutes, hopefully no more than that. I've got an early start tomorrow, at least for me. So yeah, if you've made it this far, I should have done this earlier. I strongly recommend. Do you have the link, Tess?
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat for you
Oh, good
guys.
on you. This is a speech I did that went nuts. It was getting 50,000 views a month for quite a while. The channel that it was on ran into a bit of problems. I've had, I don't even know how many emails of guys saying this completely changed their life. I had one guy who claimed he'd watched it 100 times. I had many who said they'd watched it 20, 30 times. And I give you homework at each point. It's been good enough that well over 100 guys have flown all the way from like literally Toronto and Saskatchewan and Detroit and Stockholm and Moscow and what's the capital of Wales? I've forgotten. So yeah, it really is amazing, valuable for you. The top 10 mistakes intelligent men make with women. I think I did this 15 years ago. It took a while for them to actually publish on the site. And yeah, it's changed the lives of so many people. Somewhat modestly, it was one of the OG dating speeches that really took the industry crazy. The book, The Game, and then whatever RSD Mystery Method with Charisma Arts. And the 21 convention came along that was driven by two speeches primarily that were the first to make $1 million. I was the second speech to make $1 million. And that really set this channel up as the home of dating coaches for many years till they went a wee bit red pill. So yeah, you'll get so much value out of that if you've made it this far. I think it's about 1:10, and I've added a bunch of extras. The thing about this is, I said at the start, this is uncut because I had to edit some stuff when all the world got crazy. I totally uncut, and I've added in a bunch of extra stuff to make it much dramatically more useful than the thing you'll get on YouTube. So yeah, chuck your email in if you've made it this far. I implore you to, because you're going to get so much more value out of this. There's demonstrations and a bunch of other stuff. A bit of trivia: I was severely chemically poisoned when I gave that, so I'm very weak and pathetic. It's not a great speech, but the content is insane. I spend quite a few hours working on these YouTube lives. I spent weeks trying to make every minute as valuable as humanly possible for you in that. Okie dokie. You want to get back to questions, Tess?
Yeah, sure. So where were we? Yeah, any questions that have come up on that content, guys? We're not going to be here for too much longer, so so make sure you put them in the chat for us. Martin's asking, can you tell me more about the boot camp and how it will help me if I'm 53 to 56 already and haven't had much success in my life?
Good question. Okay, the way we do it now, largely because of the events of the last few years, have made us very nervous about anyone slightly nervous or awkward on the boot camp. Pre-COVID, we took people in straight away. You'd start by doing a bunch of sessions with Tess, Natalia, maybe one or two of the other coaches. And that would get you really good at conversation, really good at, it would sort your style out in a big way, really good at reading signals, then would give you a killer date plan and would teach you a fair bit about sex, female psychology tests, so that you've got a good grounding. So when we do get you in person, and we've got, what is it? There's definitely an October, first week of October. I think the August one's no longer available, Australian one. So you'd have to do the October one now. And then we want to do a US date this year because we're getting some clients coming on and we want to meet you face to face and help you like that. So, and then you get to boot camp, and day one is we meet at 8 o'clock on the Thursday. Then we just go through the method and you get to meet everyone. And then it's about 3-4 hours. Then day one starts at 10 o'clock. And basically a whole bunch of testers come in, like really hot models. You come in and you just practice dating them. You practice approaching them, practice your conversation, practice your touch. Once you start to get good, the girls get really difficult and bitchy and they'll like blow you out. And then you practice getting blown out or handling women's tests and being really confident and staying in there and really spiking women's attraction. And That's Saturday, that's the Friday. Then we give you a special class to warm up your energy and get you really confident. Then we take you out to an upmarket bar that's full of professionals, slightly older women, like generally older than 25. And it's not like a heavy get drunk bar, not at least not till sort of midnight. So we hit the after work crowd with you. That's day one. Then day two, we same thing, except it's a day one's how to meet girls in implied socialization situations like bars, whatever, business conferences, very social gyms. Day two is how to meet women as you go about your day-to-day life. So same thing happens. A whole bunch of hot girls come in and you practice shopping centers, bookstores, the street, park benches, benches in the city. What have I missed? We might do some gym stuff. We might do some yoga stuff. We do a lot of cafe stuff. And then once we train you in actual drills with the girls, the best metaphor is you're learning MMA or boxing or jiu-jitsu with a coach, and you're doing everything you need to do in an actual fight with your coach. That's exactly the role of Tess, Natalia, Nevena, Jackie, Val, Andy, Kota, etc. Some of these girls have been with me for 12, 14 years. Natalia might be 15, actually. Okay, so that's what happens then, and then we take you out to do it in the day. A lot of guys, some of the happiest moments of their whole life. And then the sad day when guys, it all tends to come together. And I mean, so many guys said that was the best night of my life. That's the best day of my life, because the build up of the intro, day one, day two, they just go out, and the day game really makes them better at conversation, reading signals, etc. And they just kill it. So many guys historically got laid, but I made a guideline: try not to get laid, particularly if you've flown a distance, because you're missing so much value when you come in tired and late and all happy, and you miss all this money I'm paying these models to train you in the morning. And then Sunday is once you've got a girl who's somewhat interested in you, how do you go step by step to very smoothly in the modern world where, you know, escalating with women can be very problematic? How do you go in for that first kiss and take it onto a sexual relationship? It's the same thing. We give you a very important training in date planning. We do a lot of the pre-work for that on Zoom. And then you just spend all day sitting on a couch, standing, and you just spend the whole day seducing girls. You get to do every single thing up to basically sticking your tongue down Tess's throat. And some of the guys, they get to hug her, they get to hold hands, they get to touch her quite intimately, obviously not between the legs, but basically everything you do on a date, or the boobs. You don't get to touch the boobs unless you take the Platinum Bootcamp, which costs a lot more money. Then you can do what the hell you want if you get double platinum. That's probably a lie. I haven't managed to sell that to Tess and Natalia. Maybe I can get some other girls who'll be in my Platinum Bootcamp for me. That'll be really good for my margins. No, we don't do Platinum Bootcamp at this stage, despite there's probably some demand. So you'll know everything you need to do in the real world to take a date, to first kiss, to sex, the date plan, all the escalation. You'll practice holding her hands like 20 times to get it right. You practice touching on the shoulder like 50 times to get it right. Practice touching on the back, touching on the small, on the inside of the knee. You'll practice stroking her thigh. Everything you could ever do. I don't have anyone in the world who's doing it to this extent. There's guys who use female trainers, but they're more like props for the male coach. Whereas I've got Tess, Natalia, Jackie, Nevena, Natalia, especially if I didn't say her, who are like unbelievable coaches. And you're actually working with them like a boxing coach. What will it do? You'll spend 45 hours. If you do a half-assed job of executing, you'll be guaranteed to be getting girls you can't even believe. You'll be approaching much more confidently. You'll be a completely different human being on a date. And you'll get women way better than you ever dreamed possible if you just try a little bit on the boot camp and just implement. The main guys who aren't successful are the very wealthy ones who aren't that stressed about the price, and they just do the boot camp, go, that was great, James, that was unreal. Then they get back to their busy life and they don't care about the money they spent. The other ones are the guys who've done a lot of pickup artist stuff, and sometimes they can be very hard nuts to crack in the 45 hours. Some of them we crack and they become our most successful clients ever. So a lot of these guys have a lot less approach anxiety than just some fresh guy, but some of them it's just like they're so cocky, funny, and they're so routines, and in our view they're so sort of misogynistic. We just don't like all the fake alpha stuff. So that gives you an idea. Ask any more questions if you have it. Hopefully that's a pretty good summary for you. And as I said, we definitely do them in Australia. We should be doing America soon. And I'd like to do, I don't know, probably the next year or so, I'd like to do an Eastern European or a London date or something. I haven't decided exactly what. But yeah, I want to get back for the Eastern European girls, particularly the Russian girl, St. Petersburg, cultural elite of Russia, possibly the whole world. Next question, please.
Okay.
If you're interested, Martin, just book a session with Tess, and we'll fill you in more then.
Yeah. Okay, James is asking, how do you tell the difference between a gold digger and genuine interest?
Jesus Christ, man. That's a great question. It depends how good the gold digger is. If it's an amateur, it's pretty obvious. You know, it's like, oh, what sort of car do you drive? You know, where do you live? I don't know. I'm not really a guy who interacts with gold diggers. They're not my type. And without being big-headed, gold diggers generally want a guy who's quite easy to control and manipulate, which they can probably pick up very quickly. I'm not. So you get the obvious ones. If you get a good one, you'll never know. You'll just never know. So I wish I had a really clever answer for you. One of the obvious signs that I got, my first girlfriend was a gold digger. I worked in finance, and like she would refuse to pay for anything, like nothing. One time I went out with a friend of hers who became a friend of mine. When you hang out with hot girls, you often get to meet a lot of really cool guys who are dating their friends. It's one of the, particularly models. When you start hanging out with models and go to dinners with their friends and their boyfriends, you meet a lot of seriously high-level guys, particularly if you date the models I do, who can put a sentence together and actually have a brain in their head. One of the things I found, and I've heard them say, is they never put their hand in their pocket ever. And I've heard some of the women who might teach in this space, teaching girls, you know, it's your job to look pretty and be charming and be charismatic and be a good woman and all that. It's not your job to pay for stuff. That's his job. Which I don't know, I can see some sort of, I don't agree with it, but, you know, if it's taking us back to more traditional values where the man plays the male role and the woman plays the woman's role, within reason, I'm largely for that. In terms of obvious signals, a lot of them tend to be armed with obvious designer labels. I think these are the low-level ones. The more sophisticated ones, there probably isn't the double C Chanel, or certainly not Louis Vuitton. That screams out low-grade gold digger, particularly if the branding's obvious. They'll still probably have quite expensive stuff, but most people won't know. So obvious designer labels, they won't pay. Gold diggers tend to be very, very well presented. Through my coaching, I've got to coach one of the world's top male models, and I've got to coach an heir to one of the largest fortunes in the UK, one of the largest fortunes in the world at one point. And through the heir to one of the largest fortunes in the United Kingdom, I got to meet a girl who, by the time she was 23, had dated 2 billionaires. One was a Russian oligarch. The other I don't want to say because you could possibly guess who it was. And yeah, now this girl, she wasn't as attractive as Tess. She certainly never had body as good as Tess. She had a pleasant enough face. She was quite an attractive face. But yeah, she's a lot bigger than I would like downstairs. She had okay set of boobs, and she certainly wasn't a model build by any stretch. She wasn't really a Playboy Playmate build by any stretch. What's the new term for a Hugh Hefner Playmate? I guess it's an OnlyFans girl or something. I really know nothing about that. I'm going to start reading a 200-page book tomorrow. That's why I'm so good at YouTube, because I don't really watch it very often. That's why I'm so bad at YouTube, let alone Instagram, because I don't really watch it very often. Might be why I do a lot better with women than a lot of you guys. Anyway, divergent. So yeah, I met one of the world's great gold diggers who went on to teach gold digging. And yeah, I met this girl. She was attractive enough for me to have sex with, but nothing, not in the top half of the last 10 girls I'd slept with at that stage. She had a pleasant enough face. But when I met her, she was so charismatic. She was so outgoing. She was so confident. And I just met her, and 5 minutes later, I'm just like, I was falling for her straight away like that. She had a supreme gift for hooking men in. Now, you guys on regular incomes or even high-level professionals, you're not going to have to worry about a girl like this. She was literally hanging out with a guy who is going to be one of the people to inherit one of the largest fortunes of the UK. She had zero sexual interest in this guy, zero. She was purely using this friendship for networking. And my client had a bit of a crush on her. But no, billions, only billions, not hundreds of millions. Hundreds of millions aren't enough for me. I need billions to put you on my radar. So yeah, I think you've got the amateur gold diggers, you've got the run-of-the-mill gold diggers, then you got the pros. And the pros, you would have no clue. You would just have no clue. It was only when she found out I was a dating coach and we started talking, we started exchanging notes on the subject, that she sort of revealed that she's probably your gold standard gold digger. Tess, you're more of a surfing, camping hippie. You probably don't hang out with obvious gold diggers. And I think you're quite forward about how you and some of your hot friends are quite revolted by guys with a lot of money because they're such inadequate partners, canceling camping trips, and you never get a holiday with them, and really shit in bed, those rich guys. That's why they need to spend, that's why they make expensive handbags. So rich guys who are really shit in bed can keep a girl going and keep her interested. If she puts up with the 30 seconds or 60 seconds or maybe 90 seconds on a good day of slobber before he comes and gets back to his spreadsheet or his cell phone or his meeting, if she gets a fucking handbag every time she puts up with that, she'll keep letting you bang her. But if you didn't give her the $7,000 handbag, she might just run away completely and go back to a personal trainer who can fuck quite nicely. Thank you very much. It's probably a better conversationalist than you. So yeah, Tess, give me your 2 cents on gold diggers. This probably isn't Tess's special subject.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, some red flags would definitely be, if she's testing her power over you a lot. So she might be asking you to do tasks for her, like, I don't know, pick her up from the opposite side of the city or whatever hour of the night, and will you buy, like superficial things like, will you buy this thing for me or whatever. Just seeing how much she's got you wrapped around her little finger. Those are definitely some, not to say that all of those women are gold diggers. I'm saying that if she's interested, if she kind of puts emphasis on gift giving and material things, as well as also testing you to see how much power she has over you, that's definitely red flags, I would say. But yeah, that everything that James has said, I think, when she's asking about what you do for work, but that compounded with also maybe the way she presents herself, or it more being about materialistic factors rather than just what do you do for work, because I'm interested in like what keeps you stimulated and what your values and interests are. So again, the gift giving thing as well, if she's pushing for that a lot and not paying for anything, those are some pretty clear indications as well. Yeah.
A lot of my wealthy clients will ask me to have a coffee with their girlfriend and to get a read on it. I mean, you do get women with wealthy guys who they might sort of prefer a wealthy guy, who are really lovely people. They really genuinely like the guy, but you definitely, this is one of the big things that Social Coach does for guys with money. Guys with money are so busy, they're so focused on this and optimizing this and excelling at that they don't have the time to really excel at much other stuff in most cases. So a lot of wealthy guys who might have had really attractive girlfriends before because of their success or because they're just very confident leader men, they might be really good in many facets of life that are involved in growing a business, but they're really crap with women. And just like a really beautiful man, they've never had any good feedback because the girl's basically sold based on his professional status and success alone. So these guys so often end up with the wrong girl. So what we need to teach you, and a rich guy I coached in Perth, Western Australia, who was also the son of a model, a female model, and an incredibly gifted, 40-something, 50-something cage fighter. Interesting combination. His basic line when I asked for a testimonial was, James taught me how to hunt me own meat. He's one of those masculine guys I've met. Goes, yeah, James taught me how to hunt me own meat, because it's like pre that, every woman he'd had in his life, and there was quite a few, had basically just completely picked him up, and he was unaware of it because women let you think you're doing a bit of it. So the number one lesson rich guys need to learn is you got to learn to hunt your own meat. Because if you go out like a man, you see a pretty girl and you initiate contact with her and you do a good job, your chance of her being a gold digger, your chance of her going toxic, your chance of her being a user is dramatically, 10, 20 times, maybe 50 times less than some girl who somehow gets her way into your world. Does that make sense? So you go hunt your own meat, you've got a 20-fold better chance of avoiding toxic women who will really hurt your life than if you just wait for the girls who come to you. When I was dating my first girlfriend who was a gold digger, I wouldn't even call her a girlfriend, we didn't have much in common. I remember meeting one of her much more accomplished gold digger friends who only dated finance guys and very wealthy business owners, who was stunningly beautiful and very smooth. She said in front of me, which was a mistake, so what are we going to do this quarter, honey? Is it sailing or is it golf? You want to go to the polo this weekend? She's just like all these places where she knows. And the girl, the hot one, was talking about how she was working with a coach to get a proper golf handicap because she wanted to become a good golfer. Why? Because it's like, it's like all the gold diggers' Christmases have come at once if she's good at golf. So often you get girls who work in expensive hotels or they're air hostesses. One example a girl on YouTube gives is, I married a rich guy. I wanted to marry a rich guy. So I'm lazy. She was very smart, but she's lazy. I didn't want to work. I wanted to just marry a rich man and be a good wife. My goal was to be a housewife to a decent guy. So what does she do? She goes and studies and becomes a dental nurse or dental hygienist. I can't remember. There wasn't much work to do. So she goes in and because she's pretty hot, she gets some high-level dentist job. And anyway, she gets her first or second boss and marries him, and he just makes a fortune doing cosmetic dentistry. So many girls, so many guys are successful, so many guys, the woman picked you up. In the West, most women pick the guy up because the men are so clueless. Some of you may say that's a psyop we've been subjected to, but most men in the West are so completely fucking clueless that women actually pick you up. And the guys who aren't very pick-upable because they're short or they're not the most attractive guy or they don't have much money or they don't have much status, they sit and whinge that women only want tall, rich, handsome guys. And it's not so much that's all they want. If you leave a woman to her own devices to go just get her own guy, she's going to get the tall, rich, handsome ones. Why would she go for some other guy? If she's picking between two guys who aren't confident and aren't skilled, she's going to go for tall, rich, handsome one every time. Just like if you're a man and you go approaching women, you're probably going to start with the more sexually appealing ones. It just seems obvious to me, but this seems like rocket science to so many people on YouTube. Anyway, next question, Tess.
This one relates to this question. Luke, welcome, Luke, one of our early supporters. James, how best can women detect a man's level of assets if he shows up low key?
Again, I don't know if you heard the last question. It depends on how good a gold digger she is. The proper gold diggers will be armed with very delicate questions. Like, where did you go for a holiday? So, I mean, no offense, if you went to Bali, you're probably not raking in the millions. I mean, you might be a keen surfer. If so, you probably go to Lombok and stay in some crazy. You're probably not going to Bali if you got lots of money. There's probably I don't understand the US enough. There's probably I don't know if you're going to Vegas. I don't know enough about Vegas. You're not going to these traditional places. You'd be going to much more. You're going to St. Bart's or maybe Saint-Tropez, or maybe that's a bit passé these days. I don't know because I don't move in those circles. I should, but there's going to be places you'd go for your holiday, like a guy with money. His last holiday would say he's an Australian. He might be skiing. So where was your last holiday? The guy lives in Sydney. Oh, I was skiing. Where'd you go skiing? Switzerland. So some guy on average weekly income, he's not flying to fucking Switzerland to go skiing for his holiday. Now, the guys, or maybe Aspen. So there's places where rich people hang out. And if the girl asks about where do you holiday, she can get really good insight on that. I mean, this is pretty average, but I mean, she looks at your watch. If it's Philip Patek, I can't even pronounce it, let alone own one. Or, I mean, Rolex is so cliched, but there's a whole bunch of brands of watches that rich guys buy just to sort of as a trophy in amongst all the other rich guys. That, you know, if I wear a Seiko, I think it's a very stylish Seiko. Yeah, I'm useless at this shit. I'm mirrored. So I wear a watch I think is quite nice. It's just a Seiko, but a lot of people, male and female, have asked me, oh, what sort of watch is that? Expecting it's a Philip Patek or something fancy. But I had an Omega one time. I just lost it. So that's a dumb fucking idea, buy an expensive watch. Particularly when you're ADHD and hopeless like me, as you can tell by my YouTube live skills. So yes, you can tell by your watch, you can tell by your shoes. Women can somehow look at shoes and tell how expensive they are, particularly if they know shoes themselves. Holiday, let me think. I mean, she obviously asks about your job. I mean, any guy who works in finance is probably making a lot more money than average. I mean, the amount of money that you pay just an admin assistant in finance is more than a lot of professionals make. And then if he's in finance, he's got anything to do with trading or managing money, then he's probably getting paid a lot more. Tech is an interesting one. Because there's huge amounts of money in that, but not every single guy is making it. Tess, to be honest, this is not the question I'm most well equipped. There's a woman called School of Affluence or something. She's a blonde Swedish woman. I'm really giving you a killer tip. Any rich guys watching who are still watching at the nearly 4-hour mark, this is a fucking ripper. Go find out what the experts tell you. I've given you some good invite. Look at School of Affluence YouTube channel. I'm doing her a favor because she's a really good YouTuber. I'm not. I'm a really good dating coach. So if you watch some of her earlier videos, where she was really focused on high society and getting into affluence, she might give you some really good tips. What else can I suggest? Where'd you go for holidays? What are your hobbies? It's such a cliche. I mean, a lot of rich guys, their number one hobby is jiu-jitsu, which is typically more any sort of fighting is typically more a working class sport. But obviously, if you play golf, if you go sailing, I mean, car racing, a lot of rich guys are into car. Obviously, if you're buying horses or something. So there's so much she can pick up by just doing like a psychographic demographic study on you. The other thing is, like, I made quite a bit of money, but by average by public school standards I went up to. Women just know. They just know. A lot of guys, maybe not so much in tech, a lot of guys who are really guys with money tend to be really sure of themselves. Even if they're not very sure with women, they might be very sure of themselves in other domains. So if I'm into, like when I was in finance, if I was interacting with a woman, it was totally non-sexual, or I didn't think she was interested in me, I might have been quite confident, particularly if it was professional. So the woman would have determined from that, this guy is very sure of himself, so he might be really so he's probably had some sort of success in life. It might not be that. You might have said a dad who was a salesman, or there could be many other reasons. So I think guys who have money have been through stuff in life to get money in many cases, where they have a certain level of self-confidence a guy in average weekly earnings probably wouldn't have. So hopefully that was a fantastic answer. But yeah, if you look at that School of Affluence girl, she may have some gold digger tips for you, although she is targeting the mass market. So I'm pretty sure some of the women I've met who are definitely gold diggers would have a lot more insights. The best gold diggers, no offense, you're a man, you probably wouldn't have a clue she's a gold digger. They would have you 6 months and be giving you amazing blowjobs long before you picked up she was a gold digger. She'd be so good at hiding the fact she was a gold digger, you'd never suspect. Okay, another tip. If she tells you, I paid a drag queen $5,000 to learn how to give better blowjobs, she might be looking for some ROI on her $5,000 investment if she's just a primary school teacher. A little tip from my own life. When you've sort of lived with and slept with enough girls, you get a few little tidbits there. $5,000 for a primary school teacher with New York tax rates is a wee bit of change. So yeah, if she's that keen to give the world's best blowjobs from some drag queen, then she might be pretty keen on a man of some means. We're going to have to wrap up soon. We always try our best to answer Luke's questions. Guys, we really need to sign off now. I've got a shitload to do, and it's 11 p.m. where I am. So what I'd love you guys to do, sorry if we didn't get to all your questions. The primary reason we've gone from getting 500 views back when good old Luke was supporting us to getting 18,000 views and 11,000 views is because you guys are asking more questions. And the questions that are the most valuable is when this video goes live, if you could take your questions from here and put them up, you're doing us an enormous favor. And you're doing you a big favor, because Tess will start making regular YouTube videos. I'll start making regular YouTube videos. We'll start doing shorts. We'll give you crazy amounts of value. We'll get a proper video editor to cut these little incredibly valuable YouTube lives up into shorter chunks where you can review the best stuff, where you can see some of the stuff you didn't watch. So all this stuff happens. The more views we get, the more subscribers we get, the more we do this shit for you. So if you're still here now, if you could just ask a question when the video goes live, which YouTube's pretty quick, it's probably about 2 or 3 minutes away. That is the best thing you can do for Social Coach. And it's the best thing you can do for yourself if you really value what we're sharing with you. Before we sign off, Tess, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, thanks, guys. A bunch of new guys tonight, so welcome, and thank you for your awesome questions and engagement, and look forward to seeing you next time. See you guys.
Any of the guys who have worked with Tess, if you could just say a couple of nice things in the live video, I will personally give you a blowjob. I can't make Tess do that because I'll get in trouble, but I will personally do that. Just kidding. Keep smiling, and bye for now.
See you guys.